subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Who is also carrying only a backpack, have been waiting for a long time. Good morning. Morning. Shino, aren't you bringing a tent? I brought it and put in the storage scroll. If you need the ration pills, come to me. Thank you, but Hinata already has it ready for me. After greeting each other as usual, Izayoi started chatting with Aburame Shino. However, the one who killed chat this time was not the cold Aburame Shino, but Izayoi herself. Aburame Shino, who was inexplicably fed a mouthful of dog food, did not show any change on the surface, but was in a very bad mood. However, he is not the kind of person who can do anything weird, so he can only choose to remain silent. Seeing that Aburame Shino was silent again, Izayoi could only whisper to Hinata aside. In order to avoid being overheard, Izayoi only talked about normal topics and did not tease Hinata. Sorry to have kept you waiting. Not long after, Yuhi Kurenai's voice drew the attention of Izayoi and the other two. A convoy of more than a dozen people suddenly came into their sight. Leading the group were Yuhi Kurenai and a middle-aged man in ordinary clothes. At this moment, the middle-aged man was looking at Izayoi and the other two with a warm smile on his face. His joy could be seen through the window of his soul. Moreover, Izayoi and the other two all noticed that the other party's gaze stayed on Hinata the longest. But it's not because Hinata has a figure that is superior to her peers, but because of her eyes. Izayoi released his perception and did not sense any malice towards him. Apparently, it wasn't the Byakugan that was targeting Hinata, but because there were Byakugan in the escort team. The Byakugan of the Hyuga clan is the most famous sensing eye in the ninja world. The 360-degree farsightedness and perspective can see through all low-level invisibility techniques. Even if he could use Earth Jutsu to merge his body into the ground, he could not escape the eyes of the Hyuga clan. With Byakugan, the team could detect danger in advance and escape in time. The commission for a sea-level mission is enough to hire a member of the Hyuga clan. This is simply a huge profit. No wonder this middle-aged man is so happy. After thinking this through, Izayoi no longer cared. Let me introduce you. This is our client. You can call him Mr. Nishimura. Yuhi Kurenai introduced the middle-aged man to Izayoi and the other two. Mr. Nishimura, Class 8 greeted each other politely. Hello, I'll trouble you from now on. Mr. Nishimura is not arrogant at all, but instead keeps a very humble attitude. Seeing that the client was so easy to get along with, Team 8, which had encountered strange clients in D-level missions and finally got good reviews after some effort, was relieved. Let's go, we can set off now. After Yuhi Kurenai and Mr. Nishimura handed the exit certificate they had processed in advance to the Chunin guarding the gate, Izayoi and the other two walked out of the village where they had lived for 12 years for the first time. At first, Hinata and Aburame Shino were looking forward to what the outside would look like. But when they passed the first town, they were greatly disappointed. Although there are many prosperous commercial towns like Tansho Street in the Land of Fire, there are more ordinary towns and villages. Their construction is naturally not as good as Konoha, which serves as a military base. Moreover, when nobles now travel, most of them use sedan chairs carried by people or ride in horse-drawn carriages. High-tech like trains will take many years to come out. In less than a day, Hinata and Aburame Shino no longer had any expectations and focused on the mission. Ninjas move very quickly. If they travel at full speed, they can get from Konoha in the Land of Fire to the Sand Village in the Land of Wind in about 3 days. In just over a week, you can reach the most remote place in the ninja world. But that is for ninjas. If there are ordinary people in the team, then it depends on the opponent's movement speed. The mining team consisted of more than a dozen people and 2 horse-drawn carriages. There was no cargo on the return trip, so the speed was much faster than walking. Even so, the team still stopped and started, and it took 8 days before they left the Fire Nation. Hinata, how is the situation around here? As soon as they left the territory of the Fire Country and the forest path turned into a mountain path, Kunai Yuhi asked Hinata, who had her Byakugan open and veins bulging on both sides of her temples. There is no danger within a radius of 20 kilometers. What? Hinata gave a safe answer, but almost made Kurenai Yuhi and Shino Aburame drop their jaws. There was no way. They were all shocked by Hinata's data. Post views. 3 Chapter 36 Hinata's Growth. Ready-made puppet. CH 36. As we all know, the Hyuga clan's Byakugan can see things within a 1 kilometer radius. This range is not the limit, but can be achieved by turning on the white eyes. You can then increase the farsightedness range by developing the white eyes. However, no matter how much it is developed, the range of the Hyuga clan's Byakugan can only be seen within a few kilometers to a dozen kilometers. This is the intelligence compiled by various forces during the 3 Ninja World Wars. If it was Hyuga Hayashi who said this, Yuhi Kurenai would not be surprised. As the head of a clan, it is not surprising that he breaks the limits of intelligence. But how old is Hinata? Just over a month after graduation, her white eyes can see everything within a radius of 20 kilometers. What kind of monster is this? Has she broken through the limit of the Hyuga clan? Taking in the changes in the two people's expressions, Izayoi smiled secretly in his heart. Not to mention them, even Hyuga Hayashi was shocked by Hinata's growth. Izayoi, who has the bloodline of the Otsutsuki, Red, and Hinata, who has the Byakugan Princess, Red, are a match made in heaven. When Izayoi revealed Hinata's entry, it was equivalent to transplanting Hinata's eyes. With the help of the acceleration plugin, the Sage's Eye, Red, the first fetal movement has now been completed. Hinata, whose bloodline has not reached the red level, only needs to absorb Izayoi's chakra to stimulate her potential and increase her upper limit. Since the 58th year of Konoha, Hinata and Hanabi have begun to change their fate. Because that year, Izayoi awakened the unique ability of the Uzumaki bloodline, physical healing. After training every day, regardless of whether she was injured or not, Izayoi would let Hinata and Hanabi bite her to absorb her chakra. The chakra that was sucked away not only healed Hinata and Hanabi's injuries, but also stimulated their potential. Hinata's Byakugan is the purest, so her changes are the most obvious. At only 12 years old, the farsightedness of his Byakugan has surpassed that of Hinata Hayashi. At this rate, by the time Naruto Shippuden begins, Hinata's bloodline limit, Byakugan level, might have been upgraded from purple to gold. What's wrong? Hinata tilted her head cutely, not knowing why Kurenai Yuhi and Shino Aburame were so surprised. Yuhi Kurenai calmed down and said seriously, Hinata, don't tell others about your farsightedness in the future, otherwise many people will target you. Hinata is the eldest daughter of the main family who does not have the white eyes of a cage bird and can see everything within a radius of 20 kilometers. Once such value and threat are known to other ninja villages, Hinata will definitely be included in the black market and the assassination list of major ninja villages. Yes, although she didn't know why Kurenai said this, Hinata still nodded seriously. This range is very reassuring. I'll leave the rest of the journey to you. Kurenai smiled and touched Hinata's head. Aburame Shino also silently retrieved the bugs she had sent out. In the face of this range of farsightedness and perspective, the insect's sense of smell is not worth mentioning at all. So for the rest of the journey, Hinata would open her Byakugan every once in a while to observe the movements within a radius of 20 kilometers. 2 more days passed like this. In these 2 days, Team 8 wiped out 2 bandit gangs and scared away 1. Due to the steep mountain roads, it is difficult to change the route. The bandits and wandering ninjas who know the terrain will ambush them in places where they must pass. You can either take a long detour to avoid them or eliminate them. Bandits and wandering ninjas usually wouldn't come and provoke a convoy escorted by ninjas. But there are also some people who don't believe in evil and are ignorant and choose to give it a try. The 2 bandit gangs that were eliminated were the latter. As for these idiots, Team 8 naturally killed them without mercy. Team 8, which committed murder for the first time, only felt slightly unwell and recovered quickly. The school taught how to break illusions, and the teacher also cast illusions on the entire class, making them see bloody scenes. Perhaps there are still many people who cannot adapt. But his top students, Izayoi and the other two, had already overcome this level of fear long ago. On this day, after walking a few miles, Hinata opened her Byakugan as usual, ready to observe the situation within a radius of 20 kilometers. At this moment, she seemed to have seen something incredible. Her expression changed, and she subconsciously said, "Everyone, stop quickly." Upon hearing this, the convoy, which could only travel on foot with horses due to the steep mountain road, stopped immediately. Zihi Kurenai said seriously, "Hinata, did you find anything?" Hinata nodded quickly, her expression even a little panicked and unbelievable. About 17 kilometers ahead, there are two mysterious people. Their chakra is very strong, even stronger than you. Mr. Hong much stronger. By the end, Hinata didn't know how to describe it, and could only tell everyone how dangerous the two mysterious men were by belittling Kurenai. Zihi Kurenai did not feel displeased, but asked quickly, "What are the characteristics of those two people?" They were wearing jumpsuits and hats. One of them looked like a scorpion, and another was standing on a bird, flying low, as if looking for something. Hinata said. Yuhi Kurenai's expression suddenly changed, and she said to Mr. Nishimura and the others, "Turn around immediately and change the route. There is an S-rank rebel ninja ahead. Hurry, turn around." Mr. Nishimura immediately urged loudly, obviously knowing what an S-rank rebel ninja meant. So they are S-rank rebel ninjas. Hinata suddenly realized. Izayoi didn't say anything, but a white pattern appeared in his blue pupils. His eyes penetrated through the mountains and came to a place about 17 kilometers ahead. Two figures, one tall and one short, one in the sky and one on the ground, suddenly appeared in his sight. These two people are exactly the S-rank rebel ninjas that Kurenai Yuhi mentioned, and are also members of the Akatsuki organization Scorpion and Deidara. Why are these two guys here? What are they looking for? Looking at Deidara riding on the giant clay bird and searching for something around, Izayoi thought to himself. Then his eyes fell on the red sand scorpion hiding in the crimson amber, and suddenly an idea flashed in his mind. If you want to use the samsara eye to wirelessly control a puppet, you must first learn how to make a puppet. If you want to make a puppet, you need to buy materials, which requires money. Puppets, aren't there ready-made ones now? So they turn around and change their route, and after walking for a few minutes, Izayoi left the group on the pretext of going to the toilet. When he came back, he was just a shadow clone with a huge amount of chakra. As for the main body, it rushed towards Scorpion and Deidara at an extremely fast speed. Hinata seemed to have discovered something and glanced at Izayoi's shadow clone inadvertently. The shadow clone noticed her gaze and shook his head. Hinata immediately returned to normal and pretended she saw nothing. Hinata did not feel worried when she saw Izayoi heading towards the two S-rank rebel ninjas. Because in her Byakugan perspective, Izayoi was sometimes flying away in an instant, and sometimes flying through numerous obstacles. Hinata, who had experienced gravity and repulsion, didn't think that the big clay bird could withstand the attack of repulsion. As long as Shizayoi wants to run, no one can stop him. Post-views, 6th chapter 37 new moves, Izayoi's greeting gift, CH37. Brother Scorpion, we have been searching for 3 days and still haven't found the mining village. Is your information false? At this time, the artistic duo had no idea that they were being targeted. After circling in the sky for a few times and still searching in vain, Deidara couldn't help but come down and complain. The information was provided by Zetsu, so it shouldn't be wrong. A Black Hoe family has recently emerged in the Land of Rivers, specializing in selling all kinds of minerals on the black market. Scorpion's voice sounded heavy and hoarse. That family must have a huge source of minerals. As long as we find them, we won't have to worry about Kakuzu's face, and we won't have to carry out missions everywhere in the future. Okay, then I'll accompany you to look for a few more days. Deidara said helplessly. After saying this, Deidara took the red sand scorpion and flew into the sky, ready to change an area. Just as they were flying in the sky, a small shadow suddenly covered their figures, helping them to block the sunlight in the sky. Looking up, they saw a figure with a dazzling golden light flashing behind him, and their face could not be seen clearly. "Flying ninja!" Deidara exclaimed. "Did the old man send someone to take me back?" Among flying ninjutsu, the most famous one is the earth style, light and heavy rock technique of the Hidden Rock Village. The Red Sand Scorpion seemed to have discovered something and hurriedly urged, "He is not an Awagakure. Deidara, land quickly." At the same time, his mouth opened into a rectangular shape and shot out extremely high-density poison needles towards the figure in the sky, like a barrage of bullets. The poison needle was very fast. Before Deidara could react, it was already submerging the figure from bottom to top. But the next second, these hundreds and thousands of poison needles seemed to hit a wall of air and bounce back. Needle rain poured down. Seeing this scene, Deidara hurriedly controlled the big white bird to descend, and at the same time waved his sleeves to throw out several origami-sized white birds, flapping their wings and flying into the sky. "Burst!" Deidara made a seal with his other hand and shouted softly. Boom! Several overlapping explosions were heard, and dazzling flames, like fireworks, bloomed in the sky. It's a pity that it's still daytime, so the fireworks are less beautiful. A gust of wind blew away the smoke in the sky, and Deidara and Scorpion, who were free from the shadow, finally saw the figure clearly. He was a man about 1.8 meters tall, wearing a black jumpsuit and a pure white mask on his face that was the same color as his hair and had no eye holes. He exuded a mysterious aura. This person was naturally Izayoi, who used the transformation jutsu. Looking down at Deidara and Scorpion below, Izayoi murmured, "Let's have a greeting first." After saying this, he raised his right hand with his palm facing the sky. A wisp of chakra energy condensed and appeared, then dissipated. Forget it. This technique is not yet complete. It would be too rude to use it as a gift. Let's try a new move. With my current chakra level, I should be able to do it. Izayoi formed a seal with his hands, and blue chakra energy immediately emerged from his body. Invisible air currents rose upward, causing his long white hair to fly. Izayoi maintained this hand seal for more than half a minute, during which time the chakra energy did not disappear. Seeing this, Deidara, who had already landed on a ramp, asked, "What is he doing?" "It should be a spell. Be careful. Ninjas who can fly by themselves are not simple guys." Scorpion of the Red Sand said in a deep voice as he took out a scroll from his body and prepared to release his puppet army. But soon his movement stopped. Deidara, who was looking up at the sky, opened his mouth in a stunned expression. Izayoi in the sky was seen waving at them, calling out to those who were near and far, "If you can survive, let's make friends." After saying this, he flew away. It was now noon, and the sun was high in the sky like a huge ball of fire. I don't know if it's an illusion, but the height of the fireball is decreasing and is approaching Deidara and Scorpion. Well, what is that? The scene showed that Class 8 and the convoy were taking a detour and climbing a high slope, and they all stopped at the same time. They all looked towards the sky, towards the artistic duo, with stunned expressions. Some ordinary people who were timid were so frightened that they collapsed on the ground. Meteor? No, that's a meteorite. Yes, the huge fireball was actually a meteorite that fell at high speed, produced flames due to friction with the atmosphere, and burned into a huge fireball. Looking at the direction where the meteorite fell, Shiri Hong murmured, "Is it a coincidence?" It must be a coincidence. After all, how could there be a technique in this world that could summon meteorites? But she didn't notice that Hinata, behind her, was looking at the meteorite in the sky with admiration. Deidara, run! The scene returned to the artistic duo, and Scorpion of the Red Sand shouted hurriedly. So cool, however. Deidara stood there, staring blankly at the meteorite in the sky, as if he could already see the gorgeous scene after the meteorite fell to the ground. "This is art. Idiot." The Red Sand Scorpion cursed angrily, and a huge iron tail extended from its back. It tied up Deidara and jumped down the slope. At the same time, he took out a scroll from his body and released the cards stored in it. With a bang, the white mist dissipated. A human puppet wearing a black jumpsuit, with human skin but bones and internal organs made of puppet materials, appeared next to the Red Sand Scorpion. This human puppet was none other than the third Kazekage. The chakra line connected with the human puppet. The third Kazekage opened his hands, and countless black iron sand immediately surged out from his sleeves, forming a huge triangular pyramid in the air below. The red sand scorpion brought Deidara onto the triangular pyramid, then controlled the third Kazekage to use magnetic escape to shoot the triangular pyramid toward another mountain, and used chakra lines to pull the third Kazekage over, flying around the mountain wall, preparing to fly behind another mountain. However, the meteorite fell too fast, and there was no time left. Therefore, Scorpion had to change his mind and let the third Kazekage control the triangular pyramid to shoot down obliquely, blasting an artificial cave on the mountain. The red sand scorpion, along with Deidara and the third Kazekage, fell into the cave. He first manipulated the iron sand to form a solid wall to seal the entrance. Then a large amount of iron sand was produced and wrapped around them layer by layer to form a big black ball. Boom! Almost at the moment the black ball was formed, a deafening explosion resounded in the mountains. The explosion of the meteorite hitting the earth was amplified by the overlapping echoes in the valley, instantly penetrating the wall formed by sand iron, depriving Scorpion and Deidara, and even all the animals in the area, of their hearing. The terrifying high-temperature shock wave also killed a large number of creatures and plants, and instantly destroyed the mountain where it landed. The shock wave madly hit the surrounding mountains, shattering the mountain walls. 10 or 20 kilometers away, the 8th class and the convoy on the slope could hear the sound of the explosion and see a huge mushroom cloud rising in the distance. Even with the mountains blocking their way, they could feel the ground beneath their feet shaking slightly. They were standing on a slope, which meant that it was the mountain that was shaking slightly. This shows how powerful the fireball was. Post-views, 3 Chapter 38, A Gift from a Good Friend, CH 38. Since the meteorite was in a burning state, its volume was no match for Uchiha Madara's Tenkai Shock Star, and was only slightly larger than the tailed beast ball when it landed. The coverage of the mushroom cloud was not as large as the impact of 2 celestial stars. However, the high-temperature shock wave produced by the meteorite explosion is more powerful than the Tenkai Shock Star, and its power is in no way inferior to the tailed beast ball caused by the explosion of an energy body. When the mushroom cloud dissipated, the mountain where Scorpion and Deidara were previously located had been blown up. The mountain where they were hiding was much larger than the surrounding hills, so only a small part of it was shattered. A huge meteorite crater appeared in the mountains. All that was left were countless pieces of rubble, as well as lava fragments that had been burned by high temperatures or the remains of meteorites. Art, this is simply art. The shaking had just stopped. Deidara, who was not injured under the protection of the mountain and the iron ball, came out of the black ball, made a big clay bird, flew in the air, and looked at the scene below. He looked fanatical, as if he wanted to blow himself up on the spot to compete with Izayoi. Idiot, come down quickly. The scolding voice of Scorpion of a red sand came from below. Yes, they all survived unscathed. At this time, a strange voice came into the ears of the two. Izayoi's figure appeared above Deidara again without him noticing. Hearing this voice, Deidara immediately looked up with a look of surprise and asked nonsensically, "Hey, do you also think that the beauty of a moment is the real art? You mean the explosion?" Unlike those who didn't understand or looked down on him, Izayoi nodded and answered seriously. The explosion is indeed very beautiful, and it is a powerful beauty. The stronger it is, the more beautiful it is. The reason why the tailed beasts and the Jinchuriki are so terrifying is because they can use the tailed beast balls that explode amazingly. Is that so? Deidara shouted excitedly. As expected, explosion is art. Brother Scorpion, look, my art has been recognized. Idiot, that guy is the enemy. Scorpion scolded again, while not forgetting to be firm in his art. Also, eternal beauty is the real art. No, it's a moment of beauty. It's eternal beauty. For a moment, the two of them started quarreling in the sky and on the ground. Izayoi did not disturb them, but folded his arms and watched the scene with interest. I won't tell you anymore. In the end, it was Deidara who was only 16 years old this year, who impatiently ended the quarrel. He first turned his head and snorted, then looked at Izayoi and said enthusiastically, "Brother, you are so knowledgeable about art. Do you want to join our organization? It's rare to find someone with the same ideals as him, and Deidara really wants to bring Izayoi into the group." "Oh, what organization are you from?" Izayoi said with a playful smile. We were just as Deidara was about to answer. He heard the scolding voice of the red sand scorpion. "Shut up. Deidara, do you want to die?" Hearing this, Deidara seemed to remember something and had to stop what he was going to say. But he still said to Izayoi, "Brother, if you join us, I will tell you. Forget about joining your organization, but I can be your friend." Izayoi looked at the red sand scorpion below and said, "I have already given you the meeting gift for my friend. In return, can you give me your puppetry technique and the method of making human puppets? Is this the reason why you came to my door?" Scorpion of the red sand said in a deep voice, but he felt secretly happy in his heart. It seems that this guy is quite knowledgeable about art, but he's a bit playboy. He obviously likes his eternal art, but he actually gives such a high evaluation to Deidara's explosion art. Good. Of course, Izayoi didn't know what Scorpion was thinking. He nodded, ready to strike at any time. "Brother, why do you want Brother Scorpion's puppetry? Those things are not art at all. Why don't you learn explosion release from me, HM?" Deidara said. As soon as Deidara finished speaking, the voice of Scorpion of the red sand rang out. "Okay, I'll give it to you." A question mark appeared on Izayoi's forehead under the mask. "So easy?" He looked so serious that I thought he was unhappy and was ready for a fight. Suddenly, Izayoi seemed to remember something, and he became slightly enlightened. "I almost forgot that Scorpion's real body has also turned into a human puppet. Thank you." Izayoi was very happy to get what he wanted so easily. Izayoi's original idea was to kill Scorpion of the red sand, confiscate his inheritance, and even turn him into a member of the wireless puppet army. However, when I was admiring the explosion just now, I took a look at the entry on Scorpion of the red sand, and I gave up this idea. Puppet Master, purple. Shadow level qualification, purple. Chakra control, purple. In this world where there is no hope of reaching the Kage level without a connection to the Otsutsuki clan, and even if one can gain power beyond the Kage level, it will cost one's life. The purple entry is the highest level entry that any genius can possess. The purple entries correspond to the film level. There are simply too few Kage level warriors in this era. There are even fewer Kage level warriors with 3 purple attributes like Scorpion of the red sand. Deidara next to him only has 2 purple entries, Kekiai Genkai, explosion release, purple, and Kage level qualification, purple. However, no one is born a puppet master. At most, they're just a genius, blue, like Izayoi. Scorpion of the red sand apparently transformed himself into a human puppet, completing the miracle of changing his fate, which allowed the puppet genius, blue, to become the puppet master, purple. It is such a pity to kill such a talent. We should be like Uchiha Sasuke and take advantage of the situation repeatedly. When Izayoi's samsara completes its final evolution, if he wants to go further, he must upgrade his Otsutsuki bloodline, which requires a huge amount of points. A purple entry, which can be decomposed into a random 4-digit score. Since they didn't die in a meeting gift just now, Izayoi doesn't mind letting them go. Although they were forced into a corner, Deidara's C4 Garuda and C0 self-destruction could pose a threat to Izayoi. However, their strength has not reached the super shadow level. If he is not a super shadow level player, then it still falls into the category of the battle of ninjas, is the battle of intelligence. As a time traveler, Izayoi knows too much about their intelligence. On the other hand, the two knew nothing about Izayoi. Perhaps it was for this reason that Scorpion agreed so readily. Otherwise, if a passerby comes out and wants him to hand over the puppetry and the method of making human puppets, if Scorpion is in a good mood, he will reward him by making him a member of the puppet army. If the person is in a bad mood, he will give him a poison needle or slap him to death with his tail, and then leave his body to remain in the wilderness. Something for you. The red sand scorpion took out 3 scrolls, rolled them up with his iron tail, and threw them towards Deidara in the sky. As for why it wasn't thrown at Izayoi, it was because it was too high. Before Deidara could descend to catch it, Izayoi opened his palm. The invisible gravitational force immediately stopped the flying scroll, and then it slowly floated into the air. This is Wanxiang Tianin. Seeing this scene, Deidara and Scorpion's real body both changed their expressions and looked at Izayoi in astonishment. Foolishly, Deidara even tried to probe. Leader? This idiot, Scorpion of the Red Sand, was filled with helplessness. Really, Izayoi said with great interest. Tianin? It's a good name for a move. Your leader can also use gravity? Oh no. Deidara quickly covered his mouth, achieving the feat of kissing himself. The scroll did not fly in front of Izayoi, but stopped in the air more than 10 meters away. Izayoi flicked his finger lightly, and the scroll opened automatically. Seeing that no poisonous gas was being emitted, Izayoi used the far-sightedness of his samsara eye to watch with confidence. After just a few glances, Izayoi nodded and sucked the scroll over. Then he looked down at Deidara and Scorpion below, waved goodbye, and said, "Thank you for the gift. See you again if we're lucky, my friend." After saying that, Izayoi flew away. Looking at his departing back, Scorpion, who had been prepared to fight to the death if the other party turned against him, suddenly felt relieved. After seeing the opponents flying in meteorites, Scorpion of the Red Sand was sure that this was a type that could restrain him. If Deidara hadn't been there, he would have run away before the smoke cleared. When he saw his opponent using his leader's ability again, Scorpion of the Red Sand remembered the scene of his poison needle being bounced away before, and he felt even more desperate and invincible. Fortunately, the other party had no intention of killing, but the feeling of being robbed and almost killed is so frustrating. Post views, 5 Chapter 39 Puppet Master, Izayoi's excitement, ch 39, as expected of the ultimate eye technique that can control the trajectory of a planet in its final form. With just the first fetal movement, it can use gravity to pull down meteorites from outer space. Even if that technique is not yet complete, I have a trump card for strategic deterrence. After flying for a distance, Shizei came down from the sky and said to himself as he flew away in an instant, "The power of the samsara was beyond Izayoi's imagination." Moreover, it is different from the Rinnegan, which has its own exclusive eye technique and is powerful enough to control the rules of life and death. The power of the samsara eye is more reflected in the destructive aspect. Both the attraction and repulsion are so strong. I'm really looking forward to unlocking the samsara eye's chakra mode. Since the Shadow clone had no suitable reason to leave for the time being, Izayoi was not in a hurry to return to the team. Instead, after returning to a certain range, he took out the scroll given by his good friend and began to read it. I just took a quick glance at it and put it away after confirming its authenticity. Now, Izayoi read it carefully. The scroll he was reading was not about puppetry. That stuff was just garbage to Izayoi, who could control puppets wirelessly. Izayoi was looking at the method of making human puppets, so that's how he preserved his bloodline limit and ninjutsu. This guy is truly a genius. Izayoi looked at it for a while and couldn't help but exclaimed, "No wonder his entry is Puppet Master. Purple, this kind of chakra core has surpassed his predecessors. Even the puppetry of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon is far inferior to his." After saying that, Izayoi flipped through another scroll, which recorded the method of making the chakra core of the human puppet. The chakra core is the most important core of the puppet. Simply using chakra strings to control puppets is just like playing a hand puppet show. A powerful puppet, equipped with a large number of mechanisms and hidden weapons, and even able to use the power of the 5 elements. These functions cannot be opened by chakra lines. It is necessary to install a chakra core on the puppet and input chakra into the puppet through the chakra line in order to use various abilities at will. How powerful a puppet is depends entirely on the person who created it and what is put inside its body. And Scorpion of the Red Sand has walked out a path that belongs to him. He did not use materials to make puppets, but injected the materials into the human body, turning the human corpse into a puppet. Then the puppet's heart, that is the chakra core, is transformed so that the human puppet can use the bloodline limit and ninjutsu before birth. This is simply a new puppet faction. As the founder of the Red Sand Scorpion, it really fits the system's evaluation of him puppet master, Purple. In Izayoi's eyes, Scorpion's human puppet is more suitable for him than the puppets of the Otsutsuki clan on the moon. Etc. Suddenly, Izayoi had an idea and said excitedly, "Maybe I can upgrade the human puppet again." The human puppet of Scorpion of the Red Sand is similar to Nagato's Six Paths of Pain. During the Fourth Ninja World War in the original work, Uchiha Obito created the Jinchuriki into Six Paths clones, all of whom could use the chakra and abilities of the tailed beasts in their previous lives. This means that the six clones, like human puppets, can retain the abilities that the puppets had in life. The only difference is that the human puppet needs to be controlled by chakra lines. In Pain's Six Paths cannot leave the outer paths too far, otherwise the signal will be lost. However, the Samsara, it can make up for these two shortcomings. The wireless puppet of the Samsara, can be controlled at will as long as the puppet is within the long-range vision, and there is chakra in the chakra core. Even in the space channel connecting the moon and the Earth, the puppet can still receive signals. If such a puppet can also use bloodline limits and ninjutsu and replenish chakra remotely, wouldn't it be equivalent to the impure world reincarnation army without immortality, or the legion-like Pain army? The more Izayoi thought about it, the more feasible it seemed. However, he has not yet unlocked the yin-yang escape and is unable to combine the three. But you can first create a large number of puppets, and when you unlock yin-yang escape, you could directly insert the yin-yang escape black stick into them, and then you can upgrade. In the evening, Izayoi returned to the team smoothly. Except for Hinata, no one in Team 8 or the convoy realized that the huge meteorite was actually summoned by Izayoi. We deliberately took a detour to avoid the 8th team and the convoy of the artistic duo, and it took us 3 more days to reach our destination. During this period, they also avoided a mountain village, which also had a chakra more powerful than Yuhi Kurenai. Mr. Nishimura and his family live in a remote mountain village. Such mountain villages can be found everywhere in the country of rivers. However, villages like this that discovered mineral resources and knew how to mine and sell them are very rare in river country. This is where Mr. Nishimura's value lies. As the conditions in a mountain village were too poor and they were due to arrive at noon, Yuhi Kurenai declined Mr. Nishimura's invitation, took out the mission scroll, asked the other party to sign it and give a good review, and then returned with Team 8. Unlike the walking trip when they came, the 8th class flew back in an instant, with each leap covering a distance of several meters or even more than 10 meters. At this rate, we will be able to return to Konoha in 2 days at most. This is the difference between ninjas and ordinary people. In this world of abstract technology, ninjas are also versatile tools and the most useful beasts of burden. This is your first C-rank mission. Tell us how you feel about it. Shunshin got off the bus to walk because he was tired. Yuhi Kurenai looked at Izayoi and the other two and asked, "Very tired." Izayoi said truthfully, "It was a little bit fresh at the beginning, but then it became a physical and mental torture." Hinata and Aburame Shino nodded in agreement. Escort missions are like this. Not only are they boring and time-consuming, but the rewards are also pitifully low. Zihi Kurenai said with a smile, "But our mission is quite special. The country of River is densely forested and has rugged terrain. We almost encountered an S-rank rebel ninja and a mysterious strongman. There are very few C-rank missions that are as unlucky as ours. Fortunately, we have Hinata's Byakugan, otherwise our trip would be in great danger." At the end of her speech, Kurenai reached out and touched Hinata's head. Hinata said softly, "This is what I should do." "That's good. This guy Izayoi is lucky." Kurenai decided to help Hinata. Little did they know, Hinata and Izayoi both had plans of their own. The two just smiled and said nothing, ignoring Shirihong's assist. 2 days later in the afternoon, Team 8 finally returned to Konoha. This sea-level mission took them exactly half a month. For their hard work over the past half month, each of them received a super high reward, 23,000 taels. This reward is indeed very high among sea-level tasks, because the village will deduct a part, the guiding jonin will take a part, and the remaining reward will be divided into 3 parts. There are still 23,000 taels, which means that the reward for this sea-level mission should be more than 100,000. The reward for a sea-level mission is generally between 30,000 and 100,000. Considering the remuneration is over 100,000 yuan, this time is reasonable. But if they had a choice, Team 8 really didn't want to carry out this C-rank mission. As if she could see how tired they were, Zaihong smiled and said, "I'll give you 3 days off. Go home and have a good rest." Yes, Class 8 was disbanded on the spot. Izayoi-kun, see you tomorrow. Hinata was a little tired and rarely went to Izayoi's house. She had only taken a few baths in the wild, and now she just wanted to go home, take a bath, have a good sleep, and then appear in front of Shizayoi in the best condition. Izayoi, whose physical healing couldn't help, could only use a special method to heal Hinata. I saw Izayoi suddenly bent down and kissed Hinata's forehead, waved and smiled. "Go back and have a good sleep. See you tomorrow." After saying this, Izayoi disappeared in an instant. Hinata was stunned for a few seconds, then quickly looked around. When she met the gaze of a woman with a playful smile, her neck and cheeks instantly turned red from bottom to top, and she ran away with steam coming out of her head. Post views for Chapter 40. Farewell, Piggy, CH 40. When Izayoi returned home, he didn't cook or take a shower immediately. He walked into the room and came out holding a locked box. Judging from Izayoi's serious expression, this box must contain something very valuable. The keys to the chain were hidden in a secret compartment in the living room. When the box was opened, what was found inside was not scrolls and weapons, but a red ceramic piggy bank. "Piggy, goodbye." Izayoi took the piggy bank out, his hands and voice trembling slightly, and his expression was filled with grief. After saying this, he turned his head, closed his eyes, and slammed the piggy bank to the ground. The ceramic piggy bank broke into pieces in an instant, revealing coins all over the floor. Izayoi squatted down and picked up the coins and banknotes one by one, just like he had grown them from small to large, and stuffed them into a piggy bank. This money was saved by Izayoi from his monthly pension and the remuneration for performing D-rank missions during this period. As for the inheritance left by my parents, it has long been used up. After all, he not only has to support himself, but also a big eater. If the village hadn't provided monthly pension assistance, which would not be stopped until he became a genin, Izayoi would have gone to chew on tree bark and eat weeds long ago. He put the coins into a bag and threw the 23,000 ryo that he had just obtained into it. Then he went out with the bag and came to a shop. With a thud, Izayoi put the bag heavily on the counter and pointed at something and said, "Boss, here is 300 taels. I want to buy a film camera. The rest of the money will be exchanged for film and materials for developing photos." "Okay, thank you for your patronage." The boss' enthusiastic voice sounded immediately. Not long after, Izayoi came out of the store holding a camera. "I finally bought it. It's not too late now." Izayoi couldn't let go of the camera, smiling and saying to himself, "Although I can't record the childhood scenes of Hinata and I can record the growth of Hanabi. It's worth it. I'm broke now, and I probably can't eat the food in the refrigerator anymore. Let's go hunting and barbecue tonight. Oni-chan, wake up. The sun is shining on your butt." The next day, Izayoi, who suffered from bed-sucking syndrome, still enjoyed the princess's wake-up service. But this time, it was not the eldest princess who woke him up, but the youngest princess. The nose felt a little itchy, so Shizuke opened his eyes. In his hazy vision, a delicate and cute little face slowly became clear. Hanabi, wearing a yellow-brown kimono, was seen sitting astride Izayoi's body. She leaned over and held her bangs, using her hair to clean Izayoi's nose and face. "You naughty girl, next time when you fall asleep, I'll do the same to you." Izayoi smiled and rubbed Hanabi's little face. It was my sister who asked me to wake up Oni-chan. If you want to blame someone, just blame my sister." Hanabi immediately rubbed Izayoi's palm and started to shift the blame. "You should go out first. Oni-chan still needs to wash up." "Good." After playing with Hanabi on the bed for a while, Izayoi patted her little but then signaled her to get out of bed. Hanabi, wearing white socks, jumped out of bed, and ran out. No wonder there was no sound at all. After a quick wash, Izayoi opened the drawer of the desk and took out the camera inside. As soon as he walked out of the room, Izayoi saw Hinata busy in the kitchen. At this time, Hinata was not wearing her usual white windbreaker and black trousers, but a white kimono with purple and white petal patterns on the belt, cuffs, and hem. The long black hair was tied up into a bun at the back of her head. She was wearing an apron in front of her and holding a frying pan in her hand, flipping the pan skillfully. As for fireworks, rice balls are wrapped in seaweed on the dining table. Seeing this scene, Izayoi couldn't help but hold his breath and walked on tiptoe with the camera, looking for the shooting angle that was most harmonious with the light. With a click, a picture of two sisters back to back, one standing, the other kneeling, both wearing kimonos, busy with their own things, was instantly preserved forever. Hinata and Hanabi looked over when they heard the camera shutter. Camera! Seeing the camera in Izayoi's hand, Hanabi's eyes suddenly lit up. She took off her gloves and ran over, looking surprised and asking, Oni-chan, when did you buy this camera? I bought it yesterday. Oni-chan, let me see. Be careful. Oni-chan spent 300,000 taels to buy this. I used up all my savings and the money I earned from missions. Izayoi handed over the camera and reminded. Hearing this, Hanabi wiped her hands vigorously on her expensive kimono, which should be enough to buy several cameras, and then took the camera. Oni-chan, how do you look at the photos? You have to develop them first. After breakfast, Oni-chan will teach you how to develop photos. Okay. Oni-chan, let's take a picture too. No hurry. Wait until your sister finishes cooking, then we can take a picture together. That way it will be meaningful. Looking at Izayoi and Hanabi who were playing, Hinata had a happy smile on her face. After Hinata finished making breakfast, and Izayoi and Hanabi finished making rice balls, the three of them sat at the dining table, holding seaweed rice balls, and took their first group photo with bright smiles. Izayoi sat in the middle, with the sisters on the left and right. The person in charge of taking the photos was Izayoi's shadow clone. A selfie stick is not as useful as a shadow clone. After finishing breakfast, the three of them stayed in Izayoi's room, drew the blackout curtains, and began to develop photos. So beautiful looking at the very artistic photos of the sisters. I can't think of any adjective to describe them as fireworks. I can only marvel at them. Hinata stared at the photo of the three of them, her beautiful eyes sparkling. At this moment, the girl felt the same regret as Izayoi. If only she had a camera when she was a child, she could have recorded the process of her and Izayoi growing up. But it's not too late now. So for the next day, Izayoi and the Hinata sisters started taking photos everywhere. First in various places in the house, such as the living room, balcony, gymnasium, yard. Then we went outside to the familiar abandoned training grounds and some beautiful waterfalls and took photos of ourselves, as well as photos of couples and trios. When passing by a big tree, Hinata took the initiative for once and pulled the sleeve of Izayoi's specially changed robe and asked with a blushing face, Izayoi-kun, can you use the transformation technique? Hearing this, Shizeju was slightly stunned. Then he followed Hinata's gaze and looked at the tree. Izayoi finally reacted and nodded with a smile. Okay, let's go together. Hinata nodded happily, and after Izayoi performed the shadow clone technique, the two stood facing each other and formed hand seals together. Transformation technique. The white smoke dissipated, and two children wearing ordinary clothes and with baby fat on their faces stood under the big tree and smiled at each other. Then the two of them looked at Izayoi's shadow clone and smiled brightly. With a click, the picture is preserved forever. Post views. 5 Chapter 41. Akatsuki's attention. Black Zetsu's speculation. CH 41. Just when Izayoi and the sisters were recording the beautiful moment. In the pouring rain in the hidden rain village, inside a steel building, a figure is communicating with a colorful thought entity. Scorpion, what's going on? Chief, have you ever been to the land of rivers? Or do you have any other clones besides the other 5 Pains? Why do you ask? Tendo Pain asked expressionlessly. Answer me. No. Okay, I believe you. Scorpion nodded and said in a deep voice, Daedara, and I met a guy in River Country. He can summon meteorites and use the same repulsion and attraction as you." Hearing this, Tendopain's expression finally changed a little. "Who is he?" "I don't know." Scorpion of the Red Sand shook his head. "That guy was wearing a black robe, had long white hair, and a pure white mask without eye holes. His perception was ridiculously strong. He came to us suddenly, first summoning a meteorite to shock us, and then threatened me to hand over the puppetry and the method of making human puppets. But he had no intention of killing us. So you suspect that I did it?" Tendopain said lightly. "This possibility cannot be ruled out." Scorpion stared at Tendopain's samsara eye and suddenly laughed in a low voice. "I have only seen this kind of rule-like ability in you. If it's not you, then it means that there's another guy in this world who has the same eyes as you, or at the same level as you. It seems that this ninja world is not as boring as imagined." After he finished speaking, Scorpion's thought body slowly shrank and disappeared. Tendopain stood there for a few seconds, then stretched out his hand with a ring on it from his sleeve. The next second, the word 0 on the ring body flashed a faint light. A few minutes later, a creature that looked like a pitcher plant wearing a black windbreaker, with its face and body divided into black and white, emerged from the ground. "Chief, do you have any instructions?" Black Zetsu said in a hoarse voice. "Let your clone investigate." A person Tendopain told Black and White Zetsu all the information that Scorpion had just provided. "What?" Bai Zetsu exclaimed in astonishment. "Besides the leader, is there anyone in this world who knows Shinra Tensei and Wanxiang Tianin? It is possible that he has mastered the secret art of repulsion and attraction, but this possibility is very small." Tendopain gave his analysis. He wears a pure white mask without eye holes. He is probably not showing off his perception, but he doesn't want people to see his eyes. He went to Scorpion with a clear goal, just to get his puppetry and the method of making human puppets. If the eyes under his mask are like mine, then it is very likely that he is going to create the 6 paths of pain. Go check this man out. If his eyes are really the Rinnegan, then we must find him and kill him before he can snatch control of the outer path golem from me. Yes, hey, Baiju nodded, then used the mayfly technique to sink into the ground and disappeared. Half an hour later, Black and White Zetsu and Uchiha Obito started communicating in the Kamui space. A mysterious person who can use Shinra Tensei and Wanxiang Tenin. Uchiha Obito stared at Black Zetsu, who represented Uchiha Madara's will, and asked, "Do you think it is possible that besides the Samsara Eye, there are other secret techniques that can use gravity?" "I think Nagato's analysis makes sense," Black Zetsu said. "In other words, there is a lucky person who was born in a certain era in the past, and then inherited the Rinnegan and 6 Paths technique after the owner's death." Uchiha Obito instantly understood what Black Zetsu meant, but there was no expression on his face under the mask. Heizetsu didn't say anything, but his mood was very heavy. He didn't think that, apart from Nagato, there was anyone else who possessed the Rinnegan. After all, in order to give birth to the second pair of Rinnegan, Black Zetsu spent thousands of years, openly and secretly, bewitching Indra Otsutsuki and generations of Indra's reincarnations. He was also very sure that Otsutsuki Hagoromo did not pass down his Rinnegan. Once he passed down the Rinnegan, it would be impossible for no one to inherit it and use the power of the Rinnegan in these 1,000 years. As long as someone used the power of the Rinnegan, Black Zetsu wouldn't have to wait until the generation of Uchiha Madara and Senja Hashirama. But abilities like repulsion and gravity cannot be controlled by some secret technique. The moon in the sky is created by gravity. White hair, a mask without eye holes, powerful enough to replace the perception of the eyes. Black Zetsu already had a guess in his mind. If nothing unexpected happens, that mysterious guy comes from the moon. Could it be that Hamura's eyes also have such ability? Black Zetsu thought to himself. He was born too late, and his mother was sealed when he came. In the peaceful ninja world, only Otsutsuki Hagoromo took action when he embarked on a journey of atonement, while Otsutsuki Hamura married wives and concubines and developed his family. Black Zetsu, who was afraid of them, did not dare to get too close. He only knew that after Otsutsuki Hagoromo was no longer the Jinchuriki of the Ten Tails, Otsutsuki Himura moved to the moon with some of his clansmen. At the beginning, the two clans still kept in touch. This also let Black Zetsu know one thing. That is, somewhere in the ninja world, there is a space channel connecting the Earth and the moon. This space channel was not created by Otsutsuki Hagoromo, but by Otsutsuki Himura. The opponent's Byakugan can also evolve, but it is not the Rinnegan. Apart from creating space channels, Black Zetsu also didn't know what other capabilities this unknown eye technique had. When he thought of the lunar vein that was about to establish contact with the Earth, and the appearance of a terrifying guy who could use repulsion and gravity to summon meteorites, Black Zetsu couldn't help but curse in his heart. Damn Hagoromo and Himura, 1,000 years have passed, and you two unfilial sons, besides being the reincarnations of Ashura and Indra, you actually have some unknown backup plan. Scorpion's human puppet can allow the puppet to retain the bloodline limit and ninjutsu of his previous life. If that guy also has the samsara and wants to create the 6 paths of pain, he should hunt some people with powerful bloodline limits. After cursing his 2 brothers in his heart, Black Zetsu said to Uchiha Obito, I will let the white Zetsu clone keep an eye on the strong men in the ninja world. Once the other party's trace is found, it will immediately notify you in Nagato. Good. Uchiha Obito nodded. Apart from this, they had no other choice. After all, that mysterious man was too cautious. That's why they want to get rid of each other as soon as possible. Flying, repulsion, and gravity, summoning meteorites, even without the Rinnegan, that mysterious man is still a big threat. If such a dangerous existence cannot be used for one's own benefit, it must be resolved in advance. Otherwise, it may become a major obstacle in the plan. Post views 342, CH42. The 3 days pass quickly. In the blink of an eye, the vacation that Zaihong gave to Class 8 was over. During these 3 days, Izayoi and the Hinata sisters visited almost all the famous attractions in Konoha. All 3 of them prepared an album, which was already filled with a large number of photos. Looking at the smiles on the 2 girls' faces, Izayoi felt that he had made the right decision by buying this camera. After the holiday, Izayoi started to work hard and was full of motivation, which surprised Yuhi Kurenai and Aburame Shino. Hinata then remembered something and felt a little guilty. Izayoi-kun, I'll give you my reward. After Team 8 was disbanded, Hinata handed the envelope containing the banknotes to Izayoi. No, I'm not starving yet. Izayoi pushed the envelope back, pinched Hinata's little face, and said with a smile, when I can't afford to eat anymore, I will come to you, the eldest lady, to support me. Hinata did not lower her head shyly this time, because her attention was not here. Seeing that Izayoi refused, Hinata did not insist, but prepared to use all the reward to buy food. Hinata now realized that Izayoi had always wanted to buy a camera, but just couldn't afford it. The reason is that she eats too much. Ever since bringing Hanabi along to find Izayoi, the 2 of them rarely go out for picnics, and it is always Izayoi who goes out to buy the ingredients. Hinata, who lived a comfortable life, never paid attention. Only now did she realize that Izayoi's conditions were not comparable to her family's. Thinking of this, Hinata's eyes reddened slightly, and her heart was filled with emotion. She decided that she would work hard to make money in the future and share the pressure with Izayoi-kun. Izayoi didn't know what Hinata was thinking, nor did he notice Hinata's changes. Because his attention at this moment was attracted by someone, the other person was not a handsome man or a beautiful woman, but an old man with dark skin. There was a wooden box next to him and a bottle of wine in his hand, but he was reluctant to drink it all and only took a small sip each time. He was sitting on a bench, seemingly waiting for someone, or perhaps he had no money to stay in a hotel. This is a person from another village who could be identified at a glance. There are many people from other villages like this coming in and out of Konoha every day. They could be natives of the Fire Nation or foreigners from other countries. Such outsiders, Izayoi had seen countless of them since he was a child, but no one could attract his attention like this old man. Seeing this old man, the memories that had been buried deep in Izayoi's brain, so vague that he could not even recall them, gradually became clear. Although it was the first time she met the old man, Izayoi could tell his name. Dasna, the bridge builder of the Land of Waves, the client of Class 7's first C-rank mission. The important characters and famous scenes in the first chapter flashed through Izayoi's mind like a slideshow. Izayoi-kun, what are you looking at? At this moment, Hinata's voice brought Izayoi back to his senses. He smiled and shook his head. I didn't see anything. I was just daydreaming and remembered something. What is it? The village will hold the Chunin exam in just over a month. Do you think we should participate? Certainly. Hinata nodded vigorously and said seriously, I want to become a jonin as soon as possible. Oh, why? Izayoi's attention was immediately drawn, and he looked at Hinata with curiosity. He was just trying to change the subject. Unexpectedly, Hinata, who has never had any aspirations, actually has such a goal. Secret. Hinata suddenly imitated Izayoi and put her index finger in front of her mouth. Izayoi was slightly stunned. Seeing Izayoi's stunned look, Hinata laughed happily. Okay, you actually learned how to tease people. Izayoi reacted and immediately stretched out his hands to rub Hinata's little face, saying viciously, Believe it or not, I will punish you by making you a gripper. What is a hand grip? Hinata's voice was unclear as her face was being rubbed. One no. I'll tell you when I get home. Izayoi showed a sly smile on his face and was about to drag Hinata home to work out. Just then, a greeting came from far away. Hey Izayoi. Hinata, long time no see. Looking in the direction where the voice came from, a tall figure and three short figures immediately caught the eyes of Izayoi and Hinata. Silver hair with dead fish eyes, blonde hair with fox face, a cool little handsome guy, a nymphomaniac girl in Chongsam. It was exactly Class 7. Seeing Uzumaki Naruto waving towards them, Izayoi raised his hand in response and said with a smile, Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, long time no see. 2 months have passed since graduation. For Izayoi and the others, it had indeed been a long time since they last met. After all, ninja school has 3 semesters a year, and the summer vacation is only a little longer. You two are dating? The first words Uchiha Sasuke said as he approached made Hinata's cheeks blush with embarrassment. Haruno Sakura looked at Hinata with envy. They were all on the same team with the most popular person in the class and the person they liked. When would the relationship between him and Sasuke be like that between Hinata and Izayoi? Izayoi didn't answer, but asked, Are you going on a mission? We are ready to take on the mission. Uzumaki Naruto pointed at Hatake Kakashi, who was walking and reading a pornographic book on the street, and said, He is Kakashi-sensei, our guiding jonin. Kakashi jonin. Izayoi and Hinata immediately called out politely. Hey, hello. Seeing that they were talking about him, Hatake Kakashi put down the intimate paradise in his hand and raised his hand to greet Izayoi and Hinata. Then he looked at the 2 people whose height and figure were far superior to Naruto, Sasuke, and Haruno Sakura. Even if Hatake Kakashi didn't pull up the forehead protector, he could still see the amount of chakra they had, which was definitely better than Uchiha Sasuke and Haruno Sakura. So he looked at Izayoi and deliberately fanned the flames and said, Is this the top student? Not bad, not bad. He is indeed not comparable to the geniuses and the last-place students in our class. Kakashi Hatake thought that Uzumaki Naruto and Uchiha Sasuke would be unhappy, but he found that they didn't care at all. Even Haruno Sakura and Hinata thought that what Hatake Kakashi said was correct. Seeing this, Hatake Kakashi immediately gave Izayoi a very high evaluation in his heart. Even Uchiha Sasuke, who had awakened the Sharingan and evolved it to the second Magatama, and could easily use the House of Sannin Fire Jutsu and the Great Dragon Fire Jutsu, thought it was natural for him to lose to him. It seems that this generation also has dazzling civilian talents. You're too kind, Kakashi. Naruto and Sasuke are both excellent ninjas, and Sakura is also one of the top 3 students in academic subjects. I'm just a little ahead of them by luck. Izayoi smiled modestly, then complimented, Kakashi is a famous copy ninja in the ninja world, a Konoha technician who has copied thousands of ninjutsu, a direct disciple of the 4th Hokage, and a legendary master of lightning who can cut off lightning. Sasuke and the others are training with you, and in a few months, they will master a large number of ninjutsu and completely surpass me. The pupils of Kakashi Hitaki's dead fish eyes suddenly shrank, and he began to sweat profusely. As expected, he immediately saw Class 7 staring at him with wide eyes, and he felt that he was doomed. Teacher Kakashi, you are so amazing. Uzumaki Naruto pointed at Hitaki Kakashi and shouted, "You are the disciple of the 4th Hokage, and you have mastered thousands of ninjutsu. But you are unwilling to teach us ninjutsu? Teacher Kakashi, you're going too far." Hiruno Sakura also echoed the accusation. Uchiha Sasuke didn't say anything, but his eyes looking at Hitaki Kakashi were full of passion. At the same time, there was a hint of contempt. Hitaki Kakashi knew that he couldn't slack off from now on. The culprit, Izayoi, had already run away with Hinata. Post views 3 Chapter 43. Robbing the rich to help the poor, you become poor yourself. CH 43 night. The bathroom was filled with steam. Izayoi lay in the bathtub, holding the back of his head with his hands, looking at the foggy ceiling. If you look closely, you will find that his blue eyes are different from usual. The color was not as deep as usual, but became a lighter sky blue. The black pupils were also assimilated into blue, and white light slowly flowed out from inside, forming a pair of beautiful white petals around them that seemed to move. If you look more closely, you can see that Izayoi is in a daze, because his gaze was not on the ceiling at all, but penetrated the house, overlooking the entire Konoha like a god's perspective. From Izayoi's perspective, Konoha at this time, whether it was the city, suburbs, or forest, was surrounded by a circular wall about 20 meters high. If the ground were a little more sunken, then looking from above, the entire Konoha would be like a pot, and the city and forest inside would be like the vegetables in the pot. And above this pot, there's a transparent cover that covers all the leaves. Not only on the ground, but also underground there are transparent walls. No matter whether they are people inside or outside, as long as they touch the transparent wall, their chakra and position will be immediately captured by the perception team. This is Konoha's perception barrier. Even the 6 paths of pain could only choose to expose the location of one of his clones and break in forcibly. However, there is no perfect ninjutsu in this world, and the same goes for perception barriers. There's a gap in the huge barrier, which is the entrance to the village. Except in emergencies and special circumstances, there will be no barrier at the entrance of the village. Otherwise, it will only add burden to the perception class. Even so, the barrier disappears for a while every day. The time of disappearance is exactly when the sensing ninja changes shifts. The shift changes every 6 hours, which means he disappears 4 times a day. Izayoi smiled and talked to himself. He didn't know when he had returned to the bed from the bathtub, and it was already late at night outside. After finding the flaw in the perception barrier, Izayoi's gaze left Konoha and kept switching perspectives along the eastern part of the Land of Fire. Soon, his eyes came to a wild area. There were several tents set up there, and the people inside were already fast asleep. There was a bonfire in the open space, and a young man was keeping watch. It was Uchiha Sasuke. We've only walked a short distance, so we have plenty of time. Izayoi finally glanced at Dazna and smiled. You're so pitiful. Let me help you. Yes, Izayoi is ready to participate in the story of Wave Country. Materials are needed to make puppets and chakra cores, and you either have to find the materials yourself or buy them with money. After buying the camera, Izayoi became a pauper. If he only did D-level tasks, he didn't know how long it would take him to save enough money to buy materials to make a puppet. Shizatsu was still worried about how to make money, whether to complete tasks normally to save money or to find a gang to rob him. Meeting Dazna today suddenly reminded him of someone, and he made a decision. Cardo, one of the richest men in the world, specializes in illegal activities. As long as he was robbed, even if Izayoi retired from being a ninja on the spot, he wouldn't have to worry about money in the future. As for puppet materials, you can have as much as you want. Thinking of this, Shizai couldn't help but raise the corners of his mouth and prepared to rob the rich and help the poor tomorrow. The next day at noon, Izayoi used the money he had saved from completing missions during this period to go to the ninja tool shop to buy 2 storage scrolls, then created a shadow clone with a huge amount of chakra. The main body took advantage of the perception shift change and sneaked out of Konoha and headed straight for the Land of Waves. The Land of Waves is a very small island country. Since it is an island country, it is naturally not in the ninja continent. However, it is only a bridge away from the ninja continent. This small island is located in the sea at the eastern end of the fire country. As long as you reach the end, you can vaguely see the outline of a small island at a glance. Izayoi can see anywhere in the Land of Fire from a distance. So, of course, she can also see this small island. Just after leaving Konoha, Izayoi had already found Cardo. This is the horror of the Samsara Eye. The huge renegade on the moon can even monitor the entire ninja world. Such farsightedness and perspective can give you absolute intelligence advantage no matter what you do. Konoha is located in the central area of the Land of Fire. Ninjas can reach the end of any area in less than a day by moving at full speed. In the chapter of the original novel about catching up with Uchiha Sasuke, Uzumaki Naruto and his few gangsters reached the forest at the northern end from the village in less than a day. It only took Izayoi 3 hours to overtake Team 7, which was still walking. Even the Ghost Brothers are waiting for them ahead. At this rate, by the time they reach Wave Country by ship, Izayoi will have already left. Before reaching the end of the east, Izayoi took off into the air, ready to fly into the Land of Waves. The scene shifted to the sky, and Izayoi had changed his appearance, becoming the mysterious man in black robes who robbed Scorpion of the red sand. Long white hair fluttering in the wind. The pure white mask without any patterns or eye holes made him look a little creepy. The flying posture is full of the aura of a strong man. Arriving above the Land of Waves, Izayoi, without any further ado, landed directly outside of Cardo's residence, a luxurious villa. Then he walked in. At this time, Cardo was talking to a man covered in bandages. "Zabuza, are your 2 subordinates reliable? It's been more than a week. They can't even deal with an old man." Cardo's voice was full of displeasure. "That old man is lucky. When the demon brothers found him, he had already hidden in Konoha. But he was so poor that he had no money to hire Konoha ninjas to escort him back. When he couldn't stay in Konoha any longer, he would be dead when he came out." Momochi Zabuza said coldly, "If they fail, I will do it myself." I hope so." Cardo snorted coldly. How can an ordinary person have the courage to speak to a rebel ninja of ace combat power like this? At this moment, a voice came into the ears of Kato, Momochi Zabuza, and Shira, who was standing in a corner, as if blending into the shadows. Izayoi walked in and looked at Zabuza Momochi, who was wrapped in bandages and sitting on a sofa with a big sword next to him. He asked curiously, "Is the brainwashing of you in the Hidden Mist village so successful? Even after defecting, do you still abide by professional ethics?" Before Zabuza Momochi could say anything, a figure appeared in front of him. Bai raised his hand and condensed several thousand pieces, and said in a heavy tone, "Master Zabuza, be careful. This man is very strong." Momochi Zabuza stood up, picked up the beheading sword, and the corners of his mouth under the bandages slightly curled up, full of bloodthirsty desire. It can be seen that he's a lawless guy who deserves to be chopped off. Post views. 3 Chapter 44. Do you want to experience God's power? CH 44. Who are you? Kato didn't feel like a disaster was about to happen. Instead, he noticed Izayoi's rude words just now. He pointed at Izayoi and shouted, "What are those guys outside doing? They didn't even know that outsiders came in. What a bunch of losers." Izayoi touched the chin of the mask and sighed. "It seems that it is not the problem of the Hidden Mist village, but those ninjas have been tamed by you guys and have lost their blood. This makes it understandable that a rebel ninja who can be an ace in the 5 major ninja villages, when seeing a wealthy man who is as rich as a country, has no intention of killing him and seizing his property, but instead uses the method of hiring him to make money." Hearing this, Momochi Zabuza frowned slightly and subconsciously glanced at Cardo, and suddenly felt that what Izayoi said made sense. What are you talking about? And Izayoi's words also woke up Cardo, reminding him that he was just an ordinary person, and the people in front of him were ninjas who possessed extraordinary powers and were also traitorous ninjas wanted by the big ninja village. Thinking of this, Kato was frightened and took a few steps back, then hurriedly shouted to Momochi Zabuza, "Zabuza, I'll give you 10 million Ryo. Quickly kill this guy. Aren't you curious about how I got in?" Izayoi raised his hand to Cardo and chuckled. "That's it, this is it." In an instant, Cardo's body floated into the air and flew towards Izayoi. Having lost control of his body, Cardo suddenly said in panic, "Zabuza, save me." Whoosh! Momochi Zabuza pushed by away, gathered his strength, turned around, and threw the beheading sword out. The huge beheading sword, like a Winma shuriken, spun towards Cardo with the sound of cutting through the air. Yes, the beheading sword was not aimed at Izayoi, but at Cardo. To be precise, he wanted to kill both Cardo and Izayoi. "This guy's my cash cow. You can't kill him." Izayoi smiled and raised his other hand. The next second, the high-speed rotating beheading sword suddenly stopped and floated in the air, as if the surrounding space was frozen. Zabuza, Momochi, and Haku, who were seeing this kind of power for the first time, both had shocked expressions and their pupils constricted. There's a guy who calls himself a god because he has power that no one can resist. Izayoi grabbed Cardo's neck with one hand, opened his other hand with 5 fingers, and smiled playfully. "So, do you want to experience the power of God?" Before Momochi Zabuza and Shiro could react, Izayoi quietly uttered the name of a technique, Shinra Tensei. Boom! The invisible repulsive force seemed to distort the space, taking away the colors of Zabuza, Momochi, and Shiro, turning their bodies into the black and white of the comics, and eventually being submerged by the white light. A heavy explosion occurred in the central area of Wave Country. Thick dust and fog formed a mushroom cloud that rose up. Many residents were frightened by the explosion, but when they saw that the location of the mushroom cloud was where Cardo lived, their faces showed deep joy. Some people even put their hands together and made prayer gestures, hoping that something had happened to Cardo or even died in the explosion. The mushroom cloud came quickly and went away quickly. Before it reached its highest point, it was blown away by man-made strong winds. The villa had been reduced to ruins, and Izayoi was floating in the air, holding Cardo by the back of his collar. The reincarnation, eye under the mask, just glanced at the ruins and then stopped at one place. Then Izayoi raised his hand and waved gently. Gravity immediately moved the rubble away, revealing Zabuza and Haku Momochi lying under the rubble, their bodies stained with blood, with multiple fractures and severe bleeding from their internal organs. They were all unconscious, but still breathing their last breath. Shadow clone technique. Izayoi fell to the ground, formed a seal with one hand, and created a shadow clone. After asking the shadow clones to treat Momochi, Zabuza, and Shiro and prevent them from dying easily, Izayoi patted the face of Cardo, who was already frightened and completely speechless, and asked, "Is your money in the safe in the basement?" Yes, yes. Yes, Cardo came back to his senses as if grasping the last straw, nodding repeatedly and saying, "My money is hidden in the safe, and I have money elsewhere, a lot of money. As long as you spare my life, I will give you all my money. Don't kill me. Please don't kill me." By the end of his speech, Cardo was in tears and was terrified. No wonder he behaved like this. In the eyes of ordinary people, ninjas are great figures who are high above everyone else. But in the eyes of daimyo, nobles, and wealthy people, ninjas are just very useful tools. After becoming a rich man, Ronin, wandering ninja, and rebel ninja all became Cardo's tools. They will do anything for money. Hire those rebellious ninjas to do things for you. If they succeed, you will achieve your goal. If they die, that saves us some money. No matter whether they are wandering ninjas or rebellious ninjas, no one is eyeing his wealth. Both Cardo and the nobles subconsciously believed that ninjas would not betray and would abide by professional ethics. Even a money-loving rebel like Kakuzu would work part-time while hunting black market targets to make money, and had no intention of robbing or pillaging. I didn't expect that there would be a lunatic like Izayoi who is unreasonable and has no professional ethics. It was normal for Cardo to be scared when facing such a player for the first time. There are other treasure hiding places? Izayoi frowned slightly, then poked his finger at a certain acupuncture point on Cardo's body, knocking him unconscious. Let's see how much money we have first. Throwing Cardo to the shadow clone casually, Izayoi raised his hands, released gravity, and countless pieces of rubble floated into the air. Soon, a staircase connected to the basement came into Izayoi's sight. Izayoi had already discovered the location of the safe. Otherwise, he would not have released his repulsive force so wantonly. However, since there was no light source inside the safe, Izayoi had no idea how many things were hidden inside. That's why he saved Cardo. Coming down the stairs to the basement, Izayoi stood in front of a 2-meter-high and wide safe. This is a safe made entirely of metal and has a combination lock. Izayoi didn't know what the password was, and he didn't wake up Cardo to ask for it. He just put his hand on the door line, and then there was a loud bang, and the door and frame of the safe were instantly dented and collapsed. After controlling the repulsive force and blasting it several times, Izayoi finally removed the door of the safe. The contents of the safe suddenly appeared in front of Izayoi. Without the cover of the safe door, a dazzling light shone out from inside, covering Shizaya like a rosy glow. Izayoi stood in front of the safe with his hands on his hips. If you take off his pure white mask, you will see that Izayoi's samsara has disappeared, and there are only 2 big dollar symbols in his eyes. Become rich. Post views. 3 Chapter 45, The Strongest Trio, CH 45. The 2-meter-high and wide safe is filled with valuables. There were stacks of 10,000 yuan bills, neatly arranged gold bars, bags of bulging gems, and jewelry and land deeds randomly placed in a grid in all of his 2 lifetimes. Izayoi had never seen so much money. Is this the value of the wealth of the most wealthy man? Izayoi exclaimed. If Cardo didn't lie to me, this is just one of his treasure troves. How rich is this guy? Who cares? It's all mine now. Izayoi took out the storage scroll that he had prepared long ago and put all the banknotes, gold bars, gems, jewelry, deeds, and other things in the safe into it. Unfortunately, this safe is too big, and the storage scroll is not large or extra large, so the entire safe cannot be put in it. Fortunately, Izayoi had anticipated this and bought 2 storage scrolls. After collecting all the treasures, Izayoi returned to the ground from the basement, then formed a seal with one hand and created a shadow clone with a huge amount of chakra. Izayoi said to the shadow clone, I'll leave the rest to you. Is that okay? Your words are redundant. Don't you trust me? The shadow clone raised his hand and released gravity to roll up Cardo, and took Cardo away from the Kingdom of Waves. After watching the shadow clone leave, Izayoi and another shadow clone took Momochi Zabuza and Haku and flew away from the Land of Waves. After returning to the ninja continent from the Land of Waves, Izayoi and his shadow clones, each with Zabuza Momochi and Haku, instantly headed for the nearest black market. Izayoi, whose samsara can monitor the entire Land of Fire, certainly knows the location of the black market. After all, apart from Konoha's Umbu and rude organizations, only people in the black market live underground. As for Black and White Zetsu and White Zetsu's clone, Izayoi Samsara, I tried to find them but couldn't find them at all. If nothing unexpected happens, it should be the effect of the mayfly technique blending with the Earth's vegetation. Although Hei Baiju has no fighting power, they have 3 magical skills, namely the Spore Technique, the Disguise Technique, and the Mayfly Technique. These 3 magical skills can be called the ultimate versions of the 3-body technique, the Instant Body Technique, and the Invisibility Technique. With these 3 magical skills, even Otsutsuki Hagoromo and Otsutsuki Himura did not notice their 3rd brother. In less than half a day, Izayoi and his shadow clone arrived outside the nearest black market, which was a public toilet. Leaving the shadow clone, watching Momochi Zabuza and Haku outside, Izayoi went into the black market alone. Welcome, please follow me. As soon as Shizoi entered the black market through a special channel, A middle-aged man in a black suit invited him into a private room. People wearing masks are definitely those who do not want to reveal their identities. Those who are unwilling to reveal their identities are either those who are playing tricks on others, or those who are well-known or famous in the ninja world. Then you can see which one it is based on his needs. Then it's time to decide on your attitude. Of course, Izayoi didn't know what the middle-aged man was thinking, and it was also his first time in the black market. The samsara, I can only see far away and see through things, and does not have the function of eavesdropping. There are no notices posted in the black market, so Izayoi naturally does not know the rules here. Seeing that the middle-aged man didn't say anything, he took him into a private room, thinking that everyone was the same. What do the guests need? He invited Izayoi to a private room and made him sit down. After doing all the superficial things, the middle-aged man rubbed his palms together and spoke enthusiastically. Do you have paper and pen? I want to buy some materials. Izayoi asked. Yes, the middle-aged man's eyes suddenly lit up, realizing that it might be a large order, and then he quickly got up to get paper and pen for Izayoi. Izayoi took a pen and wrote down on paper all the materials he had memorized for making human puppets and chakra cores. Then he said to the middle-aged man, "Can you get these materials?" "Please wait a moment, sir. Let me take a look." The middle-aged man picked up the paper, read it carefully, and said something that impressed Izayoi. "This is the puppet material of the Sand Village. Although some of the materials are different, we can still get it." "What's your price?" asked Izayoi. The middle-aged man held up 3 fingers and said, 30% of the market price. This means that the price of purchasing these materials from them is 30% higher than the market price. "Okay, prepare 30 copies for me. How long do I need to wait?" Izayoi nodded, but didn't ask the market price. Otherwise, his newbie side would be exposed. Izayoi doesn't want to come here next time and be treated like a fish to be slaughtered. You can come and pick up the goods in 3 days. The middle-aged man rubbed his hands and smiled shyly, but you need to pay a deposit first. It's not much. 200,000 taels will be enough. 200,000 taels, the reward for a B-level mission. "Okay, I'll come over in 3 days." Izayoi stretched out his hand from his wide cuffs, placed 10,000 yuan bills on the table, then stood up and left. The middle-aged man also used the power of the black market to get these materials for Izayoi. Then, in less than a day, the news reached someone's mind through special means. "We found the mysterious man." Zetsu grinned and said, "Sure enough, it's just as what Zetsu thought. That person chose to buy the materials for making human puppets on the black market. You can find the materials for the puppets yourself, but it will take a long time. Currently, the only places where you can get these materials quickly are the Sand Village and the black market. It's normal for him to choose the latter." Black Zetsu said in a deep voice, "Tell this news to Madara-sama and eliminate this threat as soon as possible." Soon, Uchiha Obito and Black and White Zetsu were communicating with Tendo Pain on the rooftop of the steel building. "The mysterious man has been found. Do you want to take action yourself? Are your injuries not healed yet?" Tendo Pain asked tentatively. "Not yet. That's not an injury that can be healed by time. After all, as you know, that man is the one who pacifies troubled times." Uchiha Obito said. Only Nagato had never seen Uchiha Madara. Otherwise, this sentence would have been enough to prove that Uchiha Obito was a fake Uchiha Madara. After all, the Shura of a ninja world would not explain his character to a junior. Even without eyes, he still looked arrogant when facing the 9-tailed beasts. Seeing that Uchiha Obito was still so mysterious and unwilling to take action, Tendo Pain said calmly, "Then I will take action, and you assist in secret." "Okay, but I want to bring someone with me." Uchiha Itachi. "Yes, his pupil technique is very useful. It might work wonders." "Okay, when do we do it?" "Now." After a few brief exchanges, Pain's 6 paths and Uchiha Obito took action very decisively. Izayoi had not seen such a scene, otherwise he would have been slightly surprised. The 2 bosses of the Akatsuki organization, one bright and one dark, joined forces, assisted by a filial son who had never been defeated. This was definitely the strongest trio in the ninja world. It's too much to use this lineup to fight him. Post views for Chapter 46. Prepare for both situations, ch46. Let's go back to one day ago. As soon as Izayoi came out of the black market, he saw Zabuza Momochi and Haku, who were tied up by their shadow clones, and both of them had woken up from their coma. Amazing, you woke up so quickly. You're worthy of being the demon Zabuza, one of the 7 mist ninjas. Izayoi praised. You didn't kill us. Do you want to hand me over to the hidden mist village or the black market? Zabuza Momochi said weakly. Without waiting for Izayoi to speak, Bai said in an urgent voice, Please don't hand Zabuza-sama over to the hidden mist village and the black market. I am willing to make money for you to repay Zabuza-sama's bounty. You ninjas have really weird mindsets. Izayoi complained. I've killed Cardo, so all of that guy's treasure must belong to me. Do I still need your money? After finishing speaking, Izayoi couldn't help but ask Momochi Zabuza, How much is your bounty? 17 million ryo. Momochi Zabuza replied. Izayoi immediately looked disgusted and said, They are all elite jonin. How come you're more than twice as bad as Konoha's Sarutobi Isoma? Momochi Zabuza was speechless for a while. Can this be compared? What is the other party's identity, and what is one's own identity? If he didn't have a beheading sword, the hidden mist village might not even be willing to spend 17 million taels. I like you two idiots. If you hadn't followed professional ethics, Cardo's property wouldn't have been cheap to me. Izayoi released his shadow clone and said with a smile, So do me one thing and I will let you go. As long as you can spare Lord Zabuza, I'm willing to do anything, Bai said immediately. Hearing his words, Momochi Zabuza's heart suddenly warmed up, and then he looked at Izayoi and said, What I am best at is assassination. You don't need to kill anyone. Izayoi pointed at Bai and asked knowingly, What's your name? Is there a bounty on your head? My name is Bai, and I am a tool of Lord Zabuza. I have no bounty on my body. In order to prove that he was not lying, Bai endured the severe pain as if his whole body was shattered, took off the mask that was not destroyed by the repulsive force and the ruins, revealing a perfect and delicate face. Very good, I have a task for you. Izayoi walked to Bai's side, took out a scroll from his body, threw it on the ground and said, You go to the sand village and buy these materials for me, and I will let you and Momochi Zabuza go. After finishing speaking, Izayoi rolled up his sleeves, revealing his fair arms, and then, as if remembering something, he looked down at Bai and asked, by the way, Are you a man or a woman? I'm a man. Bai Hui said, It's a pity for your face. Izayoi lowered his sleeves, pulled up the hem of his robe, stretched his calf in front of Bai, and said, Take a bite. Your injury will heal after one bite. Seeing this scene, Momochi Zabuza's eyes flashed and said, Physical healing. Are you the survivor of the Uzumaki clan? As expected, you are one of the murderers who destroyed the Uzumaki country. You, the hidden mist village, know a lot about the Uzumaki clan. Izayoi said sarcastically. Hearing the conversation between the two, Bai realized something and leaned his head forward and gently bit Izayoi's calf, fearing that he would use too much force and make the other party angry and kill him and Lord Zabuza. After taking a bite, Bai's eyes widened. It was like suddenly soaking in a hot spring in a freezing cold ice field, and a warm current that dispelled all negative energy surged through his body. Under the influence of this warm current, Bai's external and internal injuries recovered at a speed visible to the naked eye. Even the bones that were blown away by the repulsive force and broken by constant collision with the villa, as well as the internal organs that were bleeding, were all reconnected and restored as if time had gone back. This is the power of the Uzumaki clan's physical healing ability. In the original work, Tsunade, whose body was broken into 2 pieces, was able to regain her life with the help of physical healing. In just a moment, Bai's injuries were all healed. Izayoi rubbed his calves against Shiro's clothes and said, The scroll says what materials to buy. I'll give you a budget of 30 million taels later. Buy as much as you can. Sir, I will definitely complete the task you assign me. Please also treat Lord Zabuza. I made a kneeling posture towards Izayoi and said respectfully, Get lost. Do you think anyone has the right to bite me? If I didn't need you to help me with the work, you wouldn't deserve this treatment. Izayoi said unhappily, This guy won't die. If he can come back earlier, there's still time to take him for treatment. Remember, you only have 10 days. If you exceed 10 days, I'll assume you're dead. Shiro, don't worry about me. Momochi Zabuza also echoed. Yes. Soon, Bai took the money and scroll given by Izayoi and instantly headed towards the Wind Kingdom. Izayoi also created another shadow clone, picked up Zabuza Momochi, and left. Aren't you going to wait here for Bai to come back? Momochi Zabuza asked. You didn't seem to tell him where to meet him. No need. As long as he appears in the Fire Country, he will not escape my eyes. So arrogant? Could it be that he has also awakened the Uzumaki clan's Kagura Hard Eye? Or that his intelligence organization is spread all over the Land of Fire? Don't all the Uzumaki clan have red hair? Why is his hair white? Transfiguration or hybrid? Zabuza Momochi said to himself. They came to a cave more than 100 kilometers away from the black market, threw Momochi Zabuza inside, and asked the shadow clone to be in charge of guarding him. Izayoi used the Samsara to monitor the entire Fire Country and began to wait for the result. Izayoi didn't know whether Scorpion would tell Nagato after he robbed the red sand. But considering that his repulsion and attraction had been discovered, Izayoi felt that there was a high chance that Scorpion had told Nagato. If that was the case, then this alias of mine would have caught the attention of Nagato and even Uchiha Obito and Black Zetsu. After all, not everyone can possess the rule-like forces such as repulsion and gravity. In the original book, there is no secret technique that can control these two abilities. This is one of the basic abilities of the ultimate eye technique. In addition to Tendo Pain, another person who can use repulsion and attraction has appeared in the ninja world, and he is wearing a pure white mask without eye holes. It is not known whether Nagato and Uchiha Obito will feel uneasy, but Izayoi knows that Black Zetsu will definitely feel uneasy. After all, he had worked hard for thousands of years before he saw hope of rescuing his mother in this era. Now that an anomaly has suddenly appeared, he will definitely find Izayoi, even if he has to dig 3 feet underground. Taking into account Black and White Zetsu's yin-yang escape, spore technique, and disguise technique, as well as the mayfly technique that can move at high speed underground and cut off all breath to blend into the Earth's vegetation. Even Otsutsuki Hagoromo and Otsutsuki Himura can't find them, and Izayoi doesn't think that his own Rinnegan can find them. White Zetsu's intelligence ability is the best in the ninja world, and the news that Izayoi purchased human puppet materials on the black market might be known to him. In order to avoid being set up, Izayoi has to make a second-hand preparation. That's why he left Shiraha and Momochi Zabuza alive. Post Views 3 Chapter 47. This vengeance is remembered. The growth of the ghost, ch 47. Sure enough, there's a problem. Luckily, I have seen Gunyo in my previous life. Oh no, it was Shinyo. In less than 2 days, Izayoi, who was monitoring the Fire Country with a shadow clone, discovered something was wrong because he saw a familiar figure. During his days in the River Country, he had used his samsara to catch a glimpse of this figure in the neighboring Rain Country. It was one of Jiraiya's disciples, the angel of the Hidden Rain Village, and the white tiger of the Akatsuki organization Conan. The other party entered the Fire Country riding a large bird with a pointed beak and was flying in one direction. Ever since Nagato's health deteriorated, Conan gradually rarely left the Hidden Rain Village. After the Akatsuki organization was assembled, he never carried out any mission alone. He always stayed in the Hidden Rain Village, helping Nagato deal with affairs and taking care of Nagato's health. After the original plot begins, wherever there is Conan, there must be Nagato or Tendo Pain. Now that Conan appears in the Fire Country, she is definitely not here for tourism. Izayoi had a feeling that the other party might have come for him. Half a day later, Izayoi's guess was confirmed. On a small hill 50 kilometers northwest of the black market, Shounen jumped off the back of the Yatagarasu. A large number of cracks appeared on her body, and then pieces of white paper fell off her body. 2 wings condensed behind her as she fell into the forest at the foot of the mountain like an angel descending. The Yatagarasu also swooped down, and after landing steadily, it turned into a huge ball of white smoke. When the white smoke dissipated, a big tree made of white paper appeared. Then the tree is automatically colored from bottom to top, and in a few blinks, it seems to become a real big tree, blending perfectly with the forest. From the perspective of the Rinnegan, the tree was covered in blue chakra, and a large number of tadpole-shaped runes emerged from the chakra, creating a barrier that isolated perception. Even Kagura's minds, I might not be able to capture this chakra, but it couldn't block Izayoi's Rinnegan. In Izayoi's eyes, there were 8 chakras in the big tree, which were Konin, Nagato, and Pain's 6 paths. It's hidden in the big bird's mouth, so that's how it moves. I thought it was summoned by Konin's lip stud. Izayoi, who watched the entire process, was slightly enlightened. Then, Izayoi couldn't help but complain. The strongest person in the current ninja world is personally dispatched. Isn't this too much of a compliment to me? But then, Izayoi fell silent. I saw a hole in the tree, and Tendo Pain walked out from it. The figure floated into the air, and Tendo Pain came to a cliff. After a while, the space next to him suddenly distorted, and a fist-sized black hole appeared. 2 twisted figures flew out from the black hole. It was Uchiha Obito and the filial son whom I had seen several times at the school gate when Izayoi was in the first grade Uchiha Itachi. Looking at the group, standing in a row, performing world-famous paintings, Izayoi couldn't help but give the most sincere greetings in his hometown dialect. I'll blow your lungs. The Super Shadow Gatekeeper, Pained 6 Paths, Uchiha Itachi, who has developed the Manjiki Sharingan to the extreme, who has many trump cards, and Uchiha Obito, who can use Kamui infinitely and is not afraid of going blind with such a combination. Even Noki, the top of the 5 Kage, would surely die if he was targeted. These 3 people can fight against the combined forces of the 5 Kage. If they let down their guard against each other, even the 5 Kage would not be their match. How can we use this kind of lineup to deal with him? At this time, Izayoi heard the shadow clone's voice in his ears, and it was in Mandarin. Look, there is movement over at the black market too. Hearing this, Izayoi's gaze immediately turned to the black market. I saw that the middle-aged man in a suit had been pierced through the body by a branch. Then a white creature appeared and turned into a middle-aged man. As expected, even the samsara I can't detect the mayfly technique. Izayoi's expression suddenly became serious. There is no flaw in his disguise technique. It is worthy of being the strongest transformation technique in the ninja world. The shadow clone said, if the samsara I completes its second fetal movement or the final evolution and cannot be seen through, then Kagura's heart, I must have the ability to perceive good and evil. Hearing this, Izayoi looked thoughtful. I was already thinking in my mind, besides Kagura's mind's eye, what other abilities does the ninja world have that can see through the art of impersonation? It would be best if the mayfly technique could also be cracked. After all, what makes people fear Hei Baiju the most is not his disguise technique or his spiritual possession, but his mayfly technique that allows him to ignore barriers, move at high speeds, and blend into the earth and vegetation. That is a method that even a 6 paths level expert cannot detect. The thought of being stared at in the dark by such eyes made Izayoi feel sick. But for a while, Izayoi couldn't think of a way to deal with it. So he put the idea aside for the time being. The samsara, I scanned the white Zetsu clones in the black market and the strongest combination on the cliff, and Izayoi chuckled and said, I wanted to give you a welcome gift, but now I think it's better not to waste my energy. I'll just let you stand here for a while. Isn't this good news? The fact that he was waiting so openly showed that Black Zetsu didn't know about the existence of the samsara I, or he didn't know about its capabilities. This is Izayoi's advantage. How could Shizaji throw away this advantage? Fortunately, I have prepared a backup plan, otherwise the loss would be huge. I will remember this grudge, and I will return the favor to you in a while. Izayoi took one last look in the direction of the strongest combination, then released his shadow clone and went back to the cave to take Momochi Zabuza away. The time came 3 days after the appointment. At dusk, Uchiha Itachi looked at the setting sun in the northern hemisphere and couldn't help but ask Uchiha Obito, who was also looking at the sunset beside him, has the target not appeared yet? You have to ask Zetsu to know this. Uchiha Obito said dimly. Hearing this, the black and white Jew half of whose bodies were hidden in the ground, said, "The things have been delivered to the clone, but that guy hasn't appeared yet, and the clone is not in any trouble." Exposed? It's not impossible. Heizetsu said, feeling even more depressed. If that mysterious man is really the descendant of Hamura, it means that the purity of his Byakugan is extremely high, and it is not surprising that his farsightedness range exceeds the upper limit of the Hyuga clan. But they were all 50 kilometers apart, and today they were often hiding in barriers and alien spaces, so how could they be exposed? This is even more outrageous than the Uzumaki clan's Kagura's mind. You wait one more day, and Itachi and I will keep some distance. Tendo Pain said lightly, then turned and left. Uchiha Itachi stood up and followed closely. Uchiha Obito also hid in the Kamui space. Only Black and White Zetsu, using the Mayfly technique and White Zetsu's clone, were monitoring the black market while expanding the scope of investigation to see if that person was hiding nearby. Then another day passed, and still no one was seen coming from the strongest group, so they left with different feelings. We failed to catch that guy this time, so it will be even harder next time. With this level of perception, one is already in a passive position before the battle even begins. 6 days later, in a forest very close to the border of the Fire Nation. My lord, this is what you wanted. It cost a total of 29,870,000 taels. Bai, who had just returned to the land of fire from the land of rivers, took off the 3 large scrolls behind him and spoke respectfully to Izayoi. You did a good job. You don't have to pay back the remaining money. I'll give it to you as a reward. Izayoi used gravity to take the scroll, then soared into the sky and left. Looking at his receding figure, Bai and Momochi Zabuza, who were worried that he would go back on his word, both breathed a sigh of relief. Lord Zabuza, where are we going next? Bai asked as he supported Zabuza Momochi, who had recovered a little and was able to stand up with the help of a cane. Go and eat the gangsters. Momochi Zabuza said in a deep voice, with a gleam in his eyes, as if he had opened the door to a new world. The demon who was taught a lesson by Izayoi has grown up. Post-views, 5 Chapter 48. If it doesn't work, I can only put up with the ninja world. Izayoi's anxiety, CH 48. Izayoi didn't know that his actions inspired Zabuza Momochi to find a different path as a rebellious ninja. After getting the materials to make the human puppet and the chakra core, Izayoi did not return to Konoha immediately. During this period, he would create a shadow clone with a huge amount of chakra every 3 days and return to the village to take over from the shadow clone that was about to be automatically released. No one except Hinata and Hanabi knew that Izayoi in the village was just a shadow clone. Izayoi, who had already reported to the Hyuga sisters, was not in a hurry to return to the village. Instead, he changed his identity and met up with the shadow clones who were plundering other treasure sites in Kado to sort out the spoils of this trip. It turned out that it was impossible to calculate Cardo's property. The most valuable things in Cardo's property are not banknotes, gold bars, or jewelry, but the land deeds. The title deed that could be hidden by Cardo is certainly not trash. These land deeds are all for houses or shops in prosperous areas of various countries. Just by selling a few land deeds, the money Izayoi earned was equivalent to that of several Sarutobi Asumas. After becoming completely rich, Izayoi immediately found a villa that Cardo had purchased in the Land of Fire based on the title deed. He then bought a clothing store in the city where the villa was located, leaving a shadow clone behind to learn skills from the tailors and designers there. The real body did not return to Konoha, but left the Land of Fire and entered the Land of Rivers, carrying 2 large, empty storage scrolls. Boom boom at this time. The sky above a mountain village was covered with dark clouds and thunder was rumbling. After a while, it started to drizzle. Even so, in a mine outside the village, there were still shirtless villagers pulling out carts of minerals, and the sound of mining could be heard from inside. In an open space not far from the mine, there stand a large number of tombstones. There are still a few people wearing black raincoats, surrounding a coffin that has just been put into the pit and burying the person inside the coffin. Oh, why would someone as good as you die? It really breaks my heart. It really breaks my heart. The person who shouted first had exaggerated movements, and showed his true feelings. However, none of the people around felt sad. There was only fear of the leader in their eyes. In their eyes, this patriarch was simply a moody guy. If you don't agree with something, you have to hold a funeral for others. Raiga, there's a very strong chakra approaching this way. Just as the leader was performing to his heart's content, a childish voice suddenly rang out from the bulging raincoat behind him, sounding a little panicked. Be careful, that guy can fly. Hearing this, Heichuleya, who was still covering his face and crying, immediately put down his hands and looked up at the sky with a serious expression. In the rain, a black figure fell from the sky. Lightning release. Thunderball. Without waiting for the figure to land or speak, Heichu Raiga pulled out his two peculiarly shaped swords, crossed them, and pointed them at the sky. The chakra that had transformed into the nature of lightning escape condensed at the tip to form a blue-white ball of light, which shot out violently. Looking at the flying thunderball, the figure simply stretched out his palm from his sleeve with 5 fingers spread out. Then the lightning ball hit a wall of air and exploded with a loud bang, like fireworks blooming, and countless arcs flashed and disappeared. As expected, I was right. It's you, Kuriko Raiga, and the owner of the bloodline limit. Red eyes. Izayoi said with a smile, since I let the original one go, I'll let you 2 pirates be my human puppets. I'm in a hurry. Let's make it quick. Wanxiang Tianin. The invisible gravity, like an invisible giant hand, grabbed Black Ho Leia from the ground. I can't see anything without any hand seals. What kind of ninjutsu is this? Heichu Leia's expression changed in shock, but he quickly crossed his 2 swords again, then input a large amount of chakra into the thunder swords, all of which were converted into lightning escape properties. Lightning style, Thunder Fong. The 2 swords transformed into lightning, shooting curved bolts of lightning at Izayoi like a laser burst. This move is the famous skill of Kuriko Raiga, just like Kakashi Hitaki's Raikiri. If the lightning does not strike, it will fly into the sky, merge with the dark clouds, and then turn into thunder and fall down. Your moves are good, and your sword is great, but that's all I can praise you for. Izayoi opened his hands, and a green hood formed by the distorted air due to the accumulation of power emerged. Shinra Tensei. As Izayoi finished speaking, the cover suddenly burst like a water-filled balloon, reaching its limit and unable to bear the pressure. The repulsive storm contained within it instantly dispersed the rain curtain, drowning Black Ho Leia, who was falling downwards without the pull of gravity, as well as the Black Ho family who were fleeing below. Boom! The deafening explosion echoed throughout the mountain village. Both the people working in the mine and the residents in the village could hear the explosion. In the nearest mine, one could even feel the entire cave shaking violently. Fortunately, the cave did not collapse. When the rain fell again and the wind blew away the dust and fog, the cemetery had disappeared, and in its place was a huge meteorite crater. All the members of the Black Ho family are dead. The Black Chu Leia, which had close contact with the earth and was subjected to the repulsive force, had broken bones and muscles and severe bleeding in its internal organs. However, before being knocked to the ground, Heichu Raiga decisively threw away the double swords in his hands and chose to protect Ranmaru behind him, so that the latter did not die on the spot, but was seriously injured like him. When Izayoi fell from the sky, Kirichu Raiga's mouth was still full of blood, and he said weakly, "Please, please, spare Ranmaru. Those people you killed also said the same thing to you, right?" Izayoi sneered. "How can you be so childish when you are a rebel ninja at the elite Jonin level?" After saying that, Izayoi raised his hand and used gravity to suck the 2 swords over, but he did not turn them around to shoot at Kuroki Raiga and Ranmaru. Instead, he smiled at Heichu Leia and said, "Help me do an experiment and make use of the last bit of value before death." Then, Izayoi formed a seal with one hand and created a shadow clone with a small amount of chakra. Then the original body and the shadow clone each held a thunder sword, input chakra into it, and transformed it into the nature of thunder escape, and it was immediately like holding lightning in their hands. The original body and the shadow clone threw the lightning in their hands, piercing through the bodies of Kurocho, Raiga, and Rimuru. However, the scene that Izayoi wanted to see did not appear. Neither Kurocho, Raiga, nor Rimuru had any entries dropped. Neither shadow clones nor killing people can increase the explosion rate. Is there really no other mechanism that can increase the explosion rate? Izayoi thought to himself, chakra is definitely not the standard for measuring strength. Otherwise, no one except Jinchuriki and Naruto can provide me with entries. Then how to judge strength? If it is based on entries, then there are only a few people in the ninja world who can provide me with entries since I was 3 years old. But those classmates in the class exploded with entries, which means it is not judged based on entries. Is it based on techniques or performance? Looking at the bodies of Kuroki, Raiga, and Rimuru, Izayoi said softly, "Try this method again. If it doesn't work, we can only use violence and let the ninja world suffer. After all, I have this configuration. How can I let someone with worse configuration than me catch up with my efforts of more than 10 years in just a few years?" No one could understand Izayoi's anxiety. Post views. 3 Chapter 49 Izayoi's birthday. CH 49. I have killed the people who invaded your village. These minerals are my spoils of war. Do you have any objections? No. No, please feel free to do as you please, sir. Do you need our help? No need for help. I'm in a hurry, bye. After storing the corpses of the Black Ho family and some minerals needed to make puppets into 2 large storage scrolls, Izayoi floated into the air, sometimes flying, sometimes teleporting, leaving the Kingdom of Rivers at the fastest speed. The next morning, Izayoi returned to the Land of Fire and went straight to the tailor shop. He created a shadow clone with a huge amount of chakra and gave the scroll containing the minerals and corpses to the shadow clone. The main body did not rest for even a quarter of an hour. He first went to a store to buy something and then rushed back to Konoha at full speed with gifts for Hinata and Hanabi. Finally, before 6 o'clock in the afternoon, Izayoi returned to Konoha. Taking advantage of the shift change, Izayoi entered Konoha from other places, then returned to the central street from the wild, and soon arrived home. I'm back. Izayoi, who followed the local customs, shouted loudly while changing her shoes at the entrance. Then, he carried the gift box and walked towards the second floor. However, I don't know when a curtain was installed at the staircase. Izayoi drew aside the curtains, and what he saw was the dimness of the blackout curtains. Only on the table in the living room, there were 12 candles burning, and underneath was a 5-layer cake. The cake was very delicate, with 3 Q-version snowmen on each layer, which are the sisters Izayoi and Hinata. Happy birthday, Oni-chan. Happy birthday, Izayoi-kun. Hinata and Hanabi had been waiting for Izayoi in the living room for a long time. As for the shadow clone, it was ruthlessly beaten to pieces by the 2 girls yesterday. Seeing Izayoi coming back, Hinata and Hanabi came over, wishing Izayoi a happy birthday, and then pulled Izayoi to the cake from the left and right. Yes, today is June 16th, Izayoi's birthday. This is also the reason why Izayoi is in a hurry to come back. Ever since the 2 of them became a threesome, Hinata and Hanabi would celebrate Izayoi's birthday at this time every year, especially when he received the information that the shadow clone was defeated by the 2 women. He knew that Hinata and Hanabi wanted to prepare a surprise for him. Izayoi naturally didn't want to disappoint the 2 girls. Pushing Izayoi to sit on the sofa, Hanabi knelt beside the coffee table, holding her chin with both hands, and said with a smile, "Oni-chan, make a wish." Oni-chan's wish is very simple. I hope Hanabi grows up quickly, and every day can be as colorful as a rainbow, as bright as the stars, and as beautiful as her sister. Izayoi made a praying gesture with his hands, closed his eyes, but spoke out his wish. But at the end, he added in his heart, I hope everything goes well and we can all get rid of the limitations of lifespan. After saying that, Izayoi blew out all the candles. Oni-chan, I love you so much, Mu-e. After hearing Izayoi's wish, Hanabi rushed over and pecked Izayoi hard on the cheek. Izayoi rubbed Hanabi's face with his hands and said with a smile, I've made all the wishes. Where's Oni-chan's birthday present? My sister and I have already prepared it for you. Hanabi jumped off the sofa and walked into the room with Hinata, and then the two of them came out holding 3 exquisitely packaged boxes. Oni-chan, open it and take a look. Putting the gift box on the ground, Hanabi said to Izayoi. Hinata didn't open the blackout curtains, but turned on the living room light. There are 3 gift boxes, 2 large and 1 small. Izayoi untied the bow, removed the wrapping paper, and opened the small box first. Inside is a red scarf. The moment Izayoi picked up the scarf, he seemed to realize something and couldn't help but look at the 2 girls and asked, "Did you knit this?" "As expected of you, Oni-chan. You guessed it right away." Hanabi smiled and said, "Oni-chan, guess who knitted this scarf? You confessed it yourself." Izayoi tapped Hanabi's forehead and said with a smile, "Your sister must have had a hand in it. Since your sister didn't weave it alone, then you two must have weaved it together." Well, Hua pouted immediately. Hinata watched this scene with a gentle smile and was not surprised that Izayoi could guess it. "It's almost autumn. It will be winter soon. I like this scarf very much." Izayoi tied the scarf around her neck and continued to open the box. This time, I opened both large boxes at once, and they were filled with clothes. One is a heavy snowman suit, and the other is a white robe made of more expensive materials with flame patterns. Oni-chan, can you guess who gave these 2 pieces of clothing to me? Hanabi asked again. This was given to me by Hinata. Izayoi picked up the snowman suit and smiled at Hinata. What about this one? Hanabi asked as she picked up the white robe. You two gave it to me together. Izayoi tapped Hanabi's forehead again and said with a smile, "Have you forgotten the flame pattern on your kimono? It's your favorite symbol, and you confessed it yourself. Since the snowman suit was given by Hinata, this one must have been given by you or by both of you. It's not fun. Oni-chan, can you read minds?" Hanabi immediately started throwing a tantrum. "I wanted to beat you once this year. I told you before, you can't fool Izayoi-kun," Hinata said with a smile. "Okay, don't be angry." Izayoi picked up Hanabi and put her aside, then picked up the gift box on the ground and said with a smile, "I have souvenirs for you too. Oh yeah, Oni-chan, where have you been these days?" Hanabi's attention was successfully diverted, and she asked curiously, "The shadow clone said you were doing something big. What was that?" "You will know later. I can't tell you now." Shizuya didn't want to dirty his sister-in-law's innocent heart. Oni-chan is so annoying. Hanabi made a face, then opened the gift box that Izayoi had stuffed into her arms and imitated Izayoi's analysis. "It's a flat square gift box, and it's so big, could it be clothes?" You guessed it right. Hanabi is really amazing. Izayoi, who was overwhelmed by the victory, immediately provided emotional value to Hanabi. Hiiwawa suddenly laughed happily. After coaxing his sister-in-law, Izayoi pulled Hinata to sit on his other side, stuffed the gift box in her arms, leaned close to her ear and smiled. "I like the gift very much. Let's relive our childhood this winter. This is a gift for you. Open it quickly." Hinata, who originally wanted to wait until Hanabi finished watching her before watching, saw Izayoi's expectant face and immediately began to look forward to Izayoi's gift. Quickly unwrapping it, Hinata opened the gift box. Then, her beautiful eyes widened slightly. This is the Hyuga sisters all made a sound, then turned to look at Izayoi and asked, "Oni-chan / Izayoi-kun, what is this dress?" "It's called sailor suit," Izayoi said with a little excitement. "I made this myself. Go try it on and see if it fits you." "Good." The Hyuga sisters, who were originally full of doubts, suddenly brightened their beautiful eyes when they heard that the clothes were made by Izayoi herself, and then they stood up and walked into the room together. As for Izayoi, he opened his samsara, not to peek, of course, but to find the location of Sarutobi Hiruzen. Seeing that the other party had already gotten off work and was having dinner with his grandson Kinomaru, and was not using the crystal telescope technique to spy around, Izayoi withdrew his gaze. However, before closing the samsara, Izayoi glanced in a certain direction outside the house. At the same time, Hanabi's surprised voice suddenly rang out in the room, causing Izayoi to break out in a little cold sweat. It fits so well. Sister, how did Oni-chan know your size? Post views, 2 Chapter 50. Grown up again? Lightning chakra stimulates cells, CH50. A few minutes later, Hinata and Hanabi walked out of the room. Izayoi, who had already loaded the film in her camera and was looking forward to it, suddenly brightened up and praised repeatedly. It's beautiful, so beautiful. If Hinata and Hanabi before, wearing kimonos, had the temperament of ladies from noble families with an ancient style, then Hinata and Hanabi now have the purity and cuteness with a modern style, making Izayoi feel as if he has returned to the urban campus life of his previous life. A white sailor collar shirt, a dark blue bow and pleated skirt, and black stockings. This is the set that comes with Hinata's gift box. Hinata is 1.55 meters tall, with a figure that is superior to her peers and even makes many mature women envious and jealous. But when she puts on this dress, she doesn't look like a 12-year-old at all. She looks more like a high school student with a baby face and big boobs, which makes Izayoi's heartbeat faster than usual. This is the image of the school beauty he imagined. The sister-in-law next to her is equally charming. A smaller version of the same style white sailor collar shirt, a dark blue bow and pleated skirt, and white stockings in contrast to Hinata's black stockings. Her waist-length hair is tied into 2 ponytails, which is extremely cute. Oni-chan, does it look good? Hanabi came in front of Izayoi, bent over with her hands behind her back, blinked her beautiful eyes at Izayoi, and said with a smile, "It looks great." Izayoi gave a thumbs up. I also think the clothes Oni-chan made by herself are very pretty. Hanabi turned around in front of Izayoi again, and then said with a little regret, "It's a pity that this dress is too thin and the skirt is so short. It's not suitable for wearing outside and fighting. It's okay. I can improve it later. After all, this is my first time making clothes." Izayoi said with a smile. "Su Izayoi-kun, doesn't this outfit come with a coat?" At this moment, Hinata's voice came into his ears, as soft as a mosquito's buzz. Hinata was seen standing next to Hanabi, with her hands in front of her body, her cheeks flushed, her eyes evasive, and her voice trembling. This is the look Hinata appears when she is shy. Seeing this, Izayoi couldn't help but wonder, "Hinata, doesn't this dress fit? There's no reason this size should be just right. Could it be that Hinata has grown up again? No, this dress is just right. It's just too obvious." Hinata said weakly, then put down her hands. In an instant, the white sailor collar shirt showed a tightness that was just as good as the black fishnet shirt, fully showing Hinata's assets. "I have a coat, but I don't have enough materials and time, so I haven't made it yet." Izayoi coughed lightly. Hinata blushed and lowered her head. "Let's not talk about this for now. Let's take a photo." Izayoi quickly changed the subject, then picked up the camera and said excitedly. Soon a picture of 3 people standing in a row, Hinata and Hanabi on each side, one hand holding Izayoi's arm, the other hand making a scissors sign, with bright smiles, was immediately captured. Then Izayoi took the camera back from the shadow clone, knocked it apart with a punch, and began to direct Hinata and Hanabi to pose and take pictures one by one. There's a photo of Hinata and Hanabi stuck together with their little hands forming a heart. There's a scene where Hinata and Hanabi are back to back, posing with pistols shooting at Izayoi. After a few photos, at the request of Hinata and Hanabi, Izayoi changed into a snowman suit and a new white robe and started taking photos with the Hyuga sisters. The person who took the photo was not Izayoi's shadow clone, but Hinata and her shadow clone who had been secretly learning photography techniques during this period. After a long time, the 3 of them moved to the restaurant and cut the cake at the dining table. Various scenes were captured by the camera again. There was a scene of 3 people clinking their juice glasses, smiling with their eyes curved into crescents. There's a scene where the Hyuga sisters feed Izayoi with forks, and the latter feeds both of them. There's a scene where Izayoi is smeared on the face of Hanabi with her little hands covered in cream, and the latter has a smile on her face as if she has succeeded in playing a prank, while the former closes one eye and smiles dotingly. There's a scene where Hinata uses a handkerchief to apply cream to Izayoi. At the beginning, the atmosphere was very warm and many beautiful pictures were left. But gradually, there was a scene where Hanabi was painted with cream to look like a little cat, biting Izayoi's palm fiercely, while Hinata punched her head lightly. There's a scene where a piece of cake is accidentally thrown at Hinata's little face. She smiles, but her eyes suddenly change from gentle to fierce. Then came a series of cake battle screenshots. In the end, Izayoi was victorious, sitting on a chair and laughing. Hinata and Hanabi looked at the sailor uniform they had just put on and was now stained by the cake with distressed looks. In the background was the scene of the messy restaurant. On this day, Hinata and Hanabi played until after 9 o'clock in the evening. They took a bath at Izayoi's house, changed back into their original clothes, and then went home. The reputation is still not enough. Izayoi stood on the balcony, waving goodbye to the Hyuga sisters, watching them leave. There was another guard outside, silently protecting the two girls. He was also supervising the two girls to prevent the young lady from not returning home at night. He said softly, "Don't worry, it won't be long before no one will stop us." June 23rd, Konoha's 60th year. At this moment, two light shouts were heard from the Nanha River in the suburbs. Fire style, Great Dragon Fire Technique. Two huge fire dragons collided with each other, one on the left and one on the right, and turned into a gorgeous firework above the river. Under the fireworks, two young boys with a significant height difference were engaging in a fierce physical duel on the water. On the riverbank, there was a girl with white eyes wearing a white dress with flower petal patterns on it. She was holding a camera and looking for an angle to secretly take a picture of the handsome tall boy. Bang! Uchiha Sasuke, who usually has the two Magatama Sharingan activated and possesses powerful insight, can last for dozens of rounds before falling into a disadvantage due to his reduced physical strength. But today, after just a few rounds, Uchiha Sasuke's Sharingan opened wide with its Magatama spinning, and his handsome face was deformed by Izayoi's punch, and he flew backwards. The power of this punch was not particularly great, and Uchiha Sasuke, whose ability to withstand blows had also been improved, was not killed instantly by the punch. Under normal circumstances, he would have stood up and continued attacking. But this time, Uchiha Sasuke sat on the water, stared at Izayoi with wide eyes, and asked, "What was that lightning release?" Just now, Izayoi's speed suddenly increased, reaching a level that the Sharingan could see, but the body could not react to, leaving Uchiha Sasuke completely unable to resist that straight punch. To be precise, it's the lightning style transformation. Izayoi lied without blinking. "I'm perfecting a ninjutsu that I developed myself," and asked Hinata to help me find a scroll on how to practice the lightning style transformation. I accidentally discovered that the chakra of the lightning style transformation can stimulate cells and increase the body's speed dramatically. In fact, this is Izayoi's shadow clone, who made Kuriko Raiga into a human puppet, used the Samsara Eye to observe Kuriko Raiga using the Thunderblade, and then easily figured out the technique based on the human body diagram. After awakening the Samsara Eye, Izayoi has mastered at least 6 types of nature changes. His secret is being perfected. Compared to the ultimate move, lightning release chakra to stimulate cells is just a simple technique. Uchiha Sasuke certainly didn't know this, and his focus wasn't on the change in the nature of lightning release. But he asked in astonishment, "You also developed your own ninjutsu? Want to learn? The jutsu you developed? You wish." I'm talking about the technique of using lightning chakra to stimulate cells. Izayoi rolled his eyes and said, "If I hadn't seen that you have already learned how to climb trees and tread water, and you also have lightning attributes, I wouldn't have taught you such a dangerous technique. If you want to learn, teach me." Uchiha Sasuke stood up and nodded, almost extending his hand like a chimpanzee. He had no idea what politeness was. Although he had no fateful entanglement with Izayoi, he had already been impressed by Izayoi's strength in recent years. No matter whether it is 1 Magatama or 2 Magatama, he cannot defeat the opponent. Although they both have amazing chakra, Uzumaki Naruto, who is at the bottom, is not on the same level as Izayoi. In Uchiha Sasuke's heart, Izayoi was also the first friend he recognized. Post views. 5 Chapter 51 Izayoi's guess. You will succeed. CH 51. Time passed quickly, and before they knew it, the 60th graduate of Konoha had already served as Genin for a season. In just a few months, even the team composed of civilians has gone from being novices to qualified Genin. The Genin team, which has excellent potential and good performance, has already left Konoha to carry out sea-level missions under the guidance of the Jonin. They have fought against the enemy, seen blood, and completed their transformation. As time came to the end of June, the guiding Jonin, who knew what major events would happen recently, no longer accepted missions out of the village, but let their subordinates continue to do miscellaneous tasks. The Genin teams that were on missions outside have also returned to the village one after another. A grand event for the Genin is about to come. Cry on this day. Class 8 helped the village clean up garbage as usual. At this moment, a loud eagle cry sounded in the sky, as if it spread throughout Konoha. When the Jonin heard the eagle's cry, they all looked up at the sky and saw the eagle sitting cross-legged above the village. Their eyes suddenly lit up. After you complete your mission, go to the Hokage building to collect your reward, then disband on your own and gather at the old place at 9 o'clock tomorrow morning. After leaving these words, Zihi Kurenai disappeared in an instant. There are a large number of Jonin who were just like her. After images flew by and gathered towards the Hokage building. Has something big happened again? Aburame Shino said calmly. Looking at the eagle that kept making calls, no alarm was blown. It seems that something big happened inside. It must be some important day. Izayoi said with a smile. Don't forget, the Chunin exams haven't been held yet this year. Upon hearing this, Hinata and Aburame Shino's eyes lit up slightly under their sunglasses. Looking at the smiling Izayoi and the expectant Hinata, Aburame Shino asked, if the Chunin exam is really coming, Izayoi, Hinata, are you going to participate? I want to participate. Hinata spoke without waiting for Izayoi to answer. Izayoi also smiled and said, if Hinata participates, I will participate too. And we both have the strength to participate, don't we? Aburame Shino put her hands in her pockets and nodded coolly. Since you all plan to participate, I can't be left out. Then let us fight side by side, and let the other Genin see the power of teammate. Izayoi and the other two smiled at each other, full of confidence. Like them, there are also senior Genin who have participated in the Chunin exam, even many times and survived, and are just a little bit away from being promoted to Chunin. June 27th, 9 in the morning. Class 8 was already waiting for Shi Ri-hong at the old place. A few minutes later, Yuhi Kurenai appeared in front of them, holding 3 documents in her hands, and said with a smile, sorry, I'm late. Teacher Hong, is this the application form for the Chunin exam? Hinata asked, looking at the document in Hong's hand. It seems you all know. Yuhi Kurenai raised the documents in her hand and smiled. Yes, these 3 are applications for the Chunin exam. The Hokage summoned all of us to guide the Jonin yesterday and announced that the start date of this Chunin exam will be July 1st. Although you have only graduated a few months ago, your performance and ability are both enough to qualify you for the Chunin exams, so I have registered you. Of course, signing up doesn't mean you have to participate. If you're not confident enough in yourself, you can choose not to participate in the Chunin exam and just throw away this application. If you are confident in your abilities, please sign this application form and submit it to the general building before 3:30 p.m. on July 1st and arrive at the examination room on time. Handing the 3 applications to Izayoi, who is assumed to be the team leader, Kurenai lied, you should discuss and think about it carefully in the next few days. Don't force yourself or your teammates. It doesn't take 3 people to take the Chunin exam. After saying this, Zihi Kurenai disappeared in an instant. Then see you on the 1st, Shino, and meet here at 3 p.m. then. Good. Izayoi handed an application to Aburame Shino, and then he and Hinata waved goodbye to him. On the way back, Izayoi handed both applications to Hinata and said, Sasuke has asked me out. Do you want to train with us these few days? Hinata was a little tempted, but still shook her head and said, no. I want to ask my father for advice on the soft fist these days, so I may not have time to come to you. Don't worry, I will definitely help you become a Chunin. Izayoi touched Hinata's head and said with a smile. Izayoi already had a guess as to why the girl wanted to become a Chunin. Hinata, in this life, is many times better than the one in the original work. As the eldest daughter of the clan, she was originally the first heir. Now that the first heir is so outstanding, the elders of the clan must have put pressure on the future father-in-law, asking him to keep Hua Hua in a cage. Hinata is so eager to be promoted to Chunin, probably because she wants to become Jonin faster and then withstand the pressure together with her future father-in-law to prevent Hanabi from becoming a caged bird. Thinking of this, a cold light flashed in Shize's eyes. If this is the case, then after the Chunin exams are over, it will be necessary to visit the Hyuga clan. Little did he know that Hinata was so eager to advance just to be with him legitimately. Izayoi, are you planning on taking part in the Chunin exams? Of course, don't tell me, are you scared? Humph, who would be afraid? I will definitely be one of the people who will be promoted to Chunin this time. Not necessarily. If you run into me along the way, you'll have to go home early. Cut at night, in the Uchiha clan leader's residence. In the yard, Izayoi and Uchiha Sasuke, who had just finished their training, were barbecuing and chatting. Sparks flew before his eyes, and the bright colors were reflected on Uchiha Sasuke's face. Uchiha Sasuke, who was flipping the grilled fish, suddenly asked, Izayoi, when your team was formed, did you introduce yourselves and talk about your dreams? Yes, what's wrong? So what's your dream? Uchiha Sasuke stared across the fire at Izayoi, who was eating and roasting across from him. Izayoi spat out the fishbone and smiled. My answer at that time was to become a good ninja. What's your real dream? I'm afraid you won't believe me if I tell you, and you might even laugh at me. I can't. Uchiha Sasuke said seriously. Izayoi stared at the burning fire and grinned. It's more of a goal than a dream. I want to get rid of the limitations of lifespan with Hinata and be together forever. Hearing this, Uchiha Sasuke's pupils shrank slightly. This fantastic idea is actually a goal rather than an unrealistic dream. Is this really possible? Before Uchiha Sasuke could continue speaking, Izayoi asked knowingly, what about you? What's your dream? I'm the same as you. It's more of a goal than a dream. Uchiha Sasuke said with a murderous look in his eyes, I want to kill that man and avenge my parents and my clan. At any cost? Izayoi asked. No matter the cost, even if it means sacrificing your life and handing your soul over to the devil. Uchiha Sasuke said in a deep voice. After staring at Uchiha Sasuke, who looked determined for a few seconds, Izayoi suddenly smiled and said, Don't worry, you will succeed, and you don't have to give your soul to the devil. After all, you're my biggest source of points. Post views 3 Chapter 52 Izayoi and my brother-in-law, handsome Hinata, ch 52. 3 days passed in a flash. During these 3 days, a large number of unfamiliar faces appeared on the streets of Konoha. There are usually a lot of unfamiliar faces like this, but they are all ordinary people from outside. The unfamiliar faces that appeared now all wore forehead protectors engraved with various patterns. They were obviously ninjas from different ninja villages. The villagers of Konoha were not panicked by this, but were very excited instead. The sudden arrival of so many ninjas from other villages means that this year's Chunin exam is coming again. Soon, they will be able to enjoy the ninja showdown again, especially those shop owners. They have already started stockpiling goods, preparing to make a quick buck when the time comes. This is the Chunin exam, one of the most grand events no matter which big ninja village it is held in. July 1st, 3 p.m. The 8th class gathered at the old place on time and headed to the ninja school with their application forms. On the way, Aburame Shino put his hands in his pockets and said, Konoha is the organizer. Our situation is somewhat passive. There should be a lot of people investigating our intelligence during this period, but we know nothing about them. It doesn't matter. The information will be updated. The information they have investigated is already outdated. Izayoi chuckled. I believe that you must have grown during this period of time. Hearing this, Hinata and Aburame Shino both smiled confidently. Soon, Team 8 arrived at the ninja school. After several months, Izayoi and Hinata Both looked a little dazed when they stepped into the campus again. Walking down a familiar road, their eyes seemed to travel through time and see reflections of previous years. From a toddler with a face full of baby fat to a child who has lost some of his childishness at that time, Izayoi and Hinata were also walking side by side, inseparable. Thinking of this, Izayoi and Hinata subconsciously looked at each other, and after their eyes met, they seemed to guess what the other was thinking, and they couldn't help but smile in tacit understanding. Arriving at the familiar complex building, Teammate had just stepped onto the first step when the expressions of Aburame Shino and Hinata changed slightly. This is an illusion. Aburame Shino formed a seal with her hands, disrupting the flow of chakra in her body. The same as him is Hinata. To be precise, it's an illusion barrier, Izayoi said with a smile. It looks like the Chunin exam has already begun. Going up to the second floor, the three saw that the corridor was crowded with people. Some of them looked dazed and confused. Some people seemed to realize something and blocked the stairs leading to the third floor, but unfortunately they were stopped by two Chunins who were in charge of guarding the door. Hurry up and remove this illusion barrier. We're going to the third floor. Before Class 8 reached the stairs, they heard a familiar voice. It's Sasuke-kun. Hinata said the name of the person who spoke the voice, but her eyes turned to a bystander in the crowd and said softly, "And Brother Niji, he is here to take part in the Chunin exam as well." As if he heard Hinata's voice, Hyuga Niji, who was watching Team 7's performance, turned his head to look. Seeing that it was Hinata, he immediately walked over, bowed expressionlessly, and said, "Miss Hinata." The etiquette was in place, but there was no respect in his tone, and even when he lowered his head, there was a hint of hatred in his eyes. "Brother Niji, good luck on the exam," Hinata said softly. "My lady too." Hyuga Niji quickly calmed down, stood up and nodded. "I hope to fight you during the Chunin exams." After finishing speaking, Hyuga Niji looked at Izayoi, who was next to Hinata, and asked, "Are you Izayoi? Do you have any advice for me? I'm the top student of the previous class." Izayoi said with a smile, "You are very strong." Hyuga Niji looked Izayoi up and down, gave this evaluation first, and then said coldly, "But you should know yourself, there is no hope between you and the young lady. This is the difference in blood, and it is also your destiny." Brother Niji, shut up. Before Izayoi could speak, a somewhat cold voice was heard. Hinata's eyes were no longer gentle, but looked at Hyuga Niji fiercely, full of warning. The whole person's aura has also changed greatly. "Excuse me, young lady." Hyuga Niji bowed and apologized, then turned and left. Watching her cousin leave, Hinata returned to her ladylike demeanor and said softly to Niji didn't mean it. "Please don't blame him." Putting one hand on Hinata's head, Izayoi touched Hinata's head and praised. "Hinata, you looked very handsome just now. It's a pity that I couldn't take out the camera in time just now." Indeed, the aura just now was full of oppression. Aburame Shino nodded in agreement. As expected, none of the top 3 students in the grade had an easy time. In this Chunin exam, we may be able to see the full strength of Izayoi, Hinata, and Uchiha Sasuke. "No way, you flatter me." Hinata blushed and lowered her head immediately after being praised, and pointed with her index fingers of both hands. The contrast between before and after was huge. If you didn't know, you would think she was the one with a split personality, not Haruno Sakura. "Hey, Izayoi, Hinata, and that someone you're here?" At this moment, Uzumaki Naruto's voice reached his ears. I saw Class 7, which had just finished its interlude, walking towards Class 8. "My name is Aburame Shino." Seeing that Uzumaki Naruto did not say her name, Aburame Shino couldn't help but emphasize her presence. "Oh, hello, Shino." However, as always, Aburame Shino's emphasis was still
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.